Chapter 121. Samir was ecstatic, chasing the robot and firing a barrage of shots. Pew, 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 pew. He managed to take down a generation of sentries with dozens of hits. His mission was straightforward: protect the professor and destroy the robot. Ensuring the professor's safety would be complete once the stadium landed. As long as the professor wasn't crushed, he would survive, and the danger would pass. Next, Samir had to blow up the robot. Following the boss's instructions to feign weakness, Samir held back his full strength, allowing the robot to drive him away from the White House. Beast was handling one sentry, while Doubts and Carlos took on 2. There were 8 prototypes in total, and Samir was responsible for 5. However, with 3 sentries controlling the surrounding battlefield, he only needed to deal with 2. He destroyed one and left the other, following the boss's instructions to retreat from the battlefield, pretending to be overwhelmed by the robot. Diana wanted to join the fight, but restrained herself. She wasn't interested in the robot. Her target was Magneto. The challenge ignited the blood of her goddess of war. Duke quickly pulled her back. "Don't go out and cause trouble. If you do, Eric won't be taken down," Duke warned. "But we're not here to compete with masters. We're here to prevent future troubles. If you really want to fight, there will be opportunities later," Duke persuaded. "That big monster?" Diana referred to the abomination that fought the Hulk. "More than that." "Okay, I won't go out." Laowan became ruthless, tearing the iron shell apart. Amidst the chaos, Ruiwen found the Major who had stunned her and punched his nose, knocking him out. Although this wasn't the William Stryker who captured her in the original timeline, he was still the one who stunned her and tried to capture her. The overlapping identities and the deep hatred from having her brain tissue, spinal fluid, and bone marrow taken made her furious. If Duke hadn't repeatedly told her not to kill, she would have strangled him. The big iron shell hit the ground heavily, and the next second, the iron door was violently torn open. The agents reached for their guns, but Laowan controlled them. Anyone with a pistol pointed at their head, suspended in the air, wouldn't dare to move. Laowan turned to the president. "You made these weapons to destroy us. Why? Because you fear our talents, because we are different. Humans always fear what is different, so let me tell you, tell the world, you are right to fear us. We are the future. We are the ones who will inherit this planet," Laowan declared in an impromptu speech. "Anyone who stands in our way will suffer the same fate as these people before you. Today was supposed to be a day to showcase your abilities. Instead, I want you to see the destruction our race can cause. My mutant brothers and sisters, don't hide anymore, don't suffer anymore. You've lived in the shadows, in shame and fear for too long. Come out, join me, and let us fight together. A new tomorrow starts today." Just then, the president stepped forward. "You want to make a statement? Kill me if you must, but please let the others go." Of course, it was Raven in disguise. "Very heroic, Mr. President. But why didn't you think of letting any of us go before? The future of our race begins now." "Well, it seems I need to give her some help. Samir, stop playing. End it, and then launch an attack on Magneto. Be careful. To miss," Duke ordered. "Yes, boss." Although Samir didn't understand why he had to shoot at Magneto but still miss, he followed the order. He blasted the chip of the sentry with one shot and sent 2 lightning bullets towards Magneto. ERK. Magneto was startled. Knowing Samir's ability, he quickly transformed a pistol into a shield to block the incoming bullets. At that moment, the president raised a special pistol and fired. The bullet pierced through the side of Laowan's neck, just like before. Suddenly injured, Laowan's control faltered, causing all the Grr sentries to misfire. "Your marksmanship was much more accurate before," someone remarked. "Trust me now," Mystique shouted as she approached, and Eric fainted. She then turned sharply and pointed the special pistol at Bolivar Trask. However, Charles immediately immobilized her. "Get out of my mind, Charles!" Raven snarled furiously, her expression twisted with rage. Duke clapped his hands in the mirror space, amazed. "Oh, I can't believe it. The big cousin is so good at acting." "Big cousin?" Diana was puzzled. Could this person have something to do with her? No, it couldn't be. "Heh, it's just a title," Duke replied. Diana rolled her eyes. In fact, it wouldn't be difficult for Duke to solve the crisis of the mutants. Given his strength, there was another way. He didn't need to consult Charles or rescue Magneto. He could quietly eliminate the Sentinel Project, but he chose to follow the original path. Why? He believed it was better for mutants to handle their own issues. Raven, please, don't make us enemies of mankind, Charles pleaded. Look around, they already are, Raven retorted. That's not all. Everything you are doing now is saving lives, and you can guide them to a better path. Raven's expression softened slightly, but she soon became resolute again. No, all this is because of him. Without him, none of this would have happened. He is the chief culprit. Raven, since the first day I met you, I've been trying to help you. Look where you are now. Raven remained silent. What's happening now, our future, is in your hands. Raven still didn't respond. I have faith in you, Raven. Mystique's face contorted with a mix of emotions. Struggle, hesitation, doubt, anxiety, even anger. Duke was about to comment again, impressed by her acting skills, thinking she could compete for an Oscar for Best Actress. In the end, Raven closed her eyes and sighed. She let go of the pistol, allowing it to fall to the ground. The president gave Bolivar Trask a cold look and breathed a sigh of relief. He's yours, Charles, Raven said, removing Magneto's helmet. The next moment, Magneto woke up. This time, Charles wasn't hit by the steel frame, but his wheelchair overturned, causing him to fall onto the grass. Lao Wan glanced at his helmet, realizing he couldn't retrieve it. If you let them catch me, I will die. You know it, Lao Wan said. I know, Charles replied. Farewell, old friend. Goodbye, Eric. Lao Wan glanced at Raven one last time before using his magnetic powers to fly away. It seems it's over. I'm going to handle the aftermath. Dear, you and Carlos take care of the funeral. I will chase him and settle the final matter, Duke said. You're going to kill him? Diana asked in surprise. No, I have a gift for him, Duke replied. He then released the mirror space and chased after Magneto. End of this chapter. Chapter 122, The 121.8-year-old Chin. The mutant situation was resolved, and the Sentinel Project would not resurface. The future of the mutants was now their own responsibility. Charles would lead them, though he might make mistakes along the way. For some reason, the professor had shaved his head. Duke sighed in relief. At least Logan hadn't changed. He had specifically instructed Yan Lingji to closely monitor Logan's every move on the 21st. But then Duke felt foolish. Mystique had never killed Bolivar, so there was no issue of altering the old and new timelines. The X-Men, influenced by Duke, had embarked on a completely different timeline, the third timeline. Logan would not rejoin the X-Men, eliminating the problem of Uncle Wolf traveling back. The momentary confusion Duke felt upon waking was likely because all the X-Men plots he knew after 1973 had been altered by his actions. What did you do in the end? Diana asked, circling Duke like a curious child. The master said, don't say it, don't say it. Don't lie to me, Confucius never said that. Diana rolled her eyes. How do you know the Z in Z said refers to Confucius? I was talking about Mencius. Mencius didn't say that either. The old man, he didn't either. Then who said it? The Buddha said. Duke shrugged with a shy look. Don't you know? Diana clenched her fists, ready to strike. Ahem? Duke coughed twice and quickly relented. I just gave him a gift, really. Diana didn't press further, but sat on the sofa and sighed. Why did you let him go? You know he's not a good person. Diana, there has never been a purely good person in this world. I know, but he's a thug and a villain who could bring eternal doom to this world, Diana argued. But didn't we stop him? Diana fell silent. Duke sighed and hugged her. Honey, I actually hesitated and wanted to kill him to solve the problem once and for all. But he's just one villain among many. If we did that, how would we be any different from him? He also wanted to kill Raven to solve the mutant problem once and for all. Diana gritted her teeth. But this is different. It's not the same, but he's also protecting his fellow mutants, and his crime is forgivable. Besides, if we killed him, we'd fall out with Professor Charles. My intention is not to be an enemy of mutants, though I'm not afraid of it, Duke smiled, not wanting to continue the argument and risk affecting their relationship. Well, if he makes another mistake, we won't forgive him. What do you think? Okay, give him another chance. Now that we've finished discussing business, shouldn't it be time to deal with our private affairs? Duke said with a smirk. What private matter? Diana was puzzled. Of course. It's a major event of harmony in life. Duke grinned, picked up Diana, and carried her to the bedroom. Duke chose to enjoy life rather than sleep. In the blink of an eye, 2 years passed. 1975, Karazhan had changed significantly over the past 2 years. First of all, Logan's journey to find his wife had finally ended. He found the 20-year-old silver fox, Kara, in Ohio and brought her back. Curiously, she didn't have a younger sister with abilities similar to the White Queen. Since then, Karazhan had one more resident. As for how Logan managed to marry and successfully lure a 20-year-old college student to New York, Duke didn't know. Of course, he had no interest in this. Transferring to another school wasn't difficult. Logan no longer hid but stayed in New York and found a stable job. Brother Tiger, who initially wanted to run away and disliked the restrained life, was also convinced to stay. Victor had become honest after his encounter with Duke. If he dared to revert to his villainous ways, he would be crushed. So, Victor remained honest. The Karazhan Hero Squad was gradually taking shape. The year 1975 was an interesting time. It was the year when 8-year-old Jean awakened. "Do you like it?" Duke asked, looking at the ancient marble castle steeped in history. The 8-year-old Jean shook her head. "I can't stay." "Why not?" Duke inquired. "It's too advanced here. I always break things," Jean admitted. "If you break something, I'll fix it," Duke reassured her. "Some things can't be fixed," Jean said, shaking her head. "I can help you so you never have to break things again," Duke promised. "So you can even fix me?" Jean asked, her eyes wide with curiosity. "No, because you're not broken," Duke replied with a warm smile. Just then, a portal lit up. "Oh, nice to meet you. Still a walking Charles," Duke greeted. "Thank you," Charles responded, and the two hugged. It was naturally Duke. Charles's nerves, damaged by bullets, had been healed long after the mutant crisis was resolved. Now, Charles was both able to walk and fully capable. "You've thanked me many times," Charles noted. "It's you who keeps mentioning it," Duke shrugged, implying that Charles should be the one thanking him. "Ha ha ha!" Duke laughed, then turned to the little girl next to him with a smile. "Jean, it's impolite to invade other people's minds without permission." "Jean, I told you," Charles said, sounding helpless. Jean wasn't very scared, but looked at Duke curiously. "Who are you? Why can't I feel your thoughts?" "Jean," the professor was very angry. Duke waved his hand to show he didn't mind and then pointed to the tall tower. "See, that's my home. If you live here, then we are neighbors." Jean turned her head and looked. The Karazhan Tower was clearly visible from X Academy. Then, "Can I go there to play?" "Of course, but I'm going to bed soon." Duke smiled. "Sleep?" Jean asked, puzzled. "Yes, the kind of sleep that lasts for years," Duke explained. "Are you a bear?" Jean asked without hesitation. "I'm much better than a bear," Duke said, touching Jean's little head. "When you grow up, you will be a great beauty." "Thank you," Jean smiled. Charles was a little confused. "Duke, are you going to travel to the astral world again? It was more than 20 years last time. How long will it be this time?" "Yes, before going to the Star Realm, I'm here to give you a warning," Duke said. "Warning," Charles frowned. "Come in and talk," Duke suggested. "Oh," Charles agreed, following Duke inside. End of this chapter. Chapter 123, Can't Stay Here Anymore. The Academy X had a completely new look. It was different from before. Many mutants who had died in the old timeline or who hadn't joined X Academy were now present. "Hi, Duke." "Oh, Raven, are you back? Thank you for your guidance." "Want to thank me?" Duke smiled playfully. Mystique froze for a moment, then smiled slyly. "Of course, any request is fine, even if it's me." She pointed to her chest as she spoke. Cough, cough, cough. 2 dry coughs interrupted them, one from Charles and the other from Hank the Beast, who stood behind him. It was a delicate triangle relationship. Hank the Beast liked Raven, Raven liked Charles, and Charles liked Mara MacTaggart, the secret agent from First Class. Duke also liked Mara. She had a kind of Laura style when she wore her uniform. "Then, can you become Monroe?" "Monroe?" Raven was a little surprised, then smiled. "Do you like her?" Charles and Hank exchanged puzzled glances. "Yes. Unfortunately, when she was active on the screen, I was traveling. By the time my trip was over, she had passed away." Soon, Raven transformed into Monroe's appearance, still wearing the classic white dress that was blown by the wind. Duke didn't hesitate. He went up to give her a hug, twirled her around, and then kissed her lightly. "It's a bit disappointing," It's not as sexy as I thought. It didn't feel as good to hold her. It wasn't particularly comfortable. To put it simply, it was the same as when he held Peggy Carter. That's defined by you ordinary men. I didn't think she was so sexy, Raven said, shaking her head and changing back to her own appearance. Okay, the thanks are over. Let's start talking about business. Duke straightened his expression. Then I'll leave first, Raven said. Oh no, you are also a party, so you should stay. However, Hank, please. Duke raised his hand as a signal. Leaving Raven behind and letting Hank go, Hank was a little embarrassed but nodded and closed the door behind him. Duke, what should be described as warning? Charles was puzzled. Why did Hank leave and Raven remain? I'm warning you, Charles. You're adrift. Charles was a little stunned. Huh? I tried my best to reverse the future of your mutants so that you can better integrate into this world, not to ask you to be a nanny for human beings. It's not that humans are in danger, so you have to be on top. Integrating into this world can be done in many ways. You can do volunteer work, help the police arrest bad people, or be a volunteer. That's right. Mutants are very powerful. They can do things that humans can't. But what I want to say is that you don't need to sacrifice your life for humans for the better survival of mutants. Before helping humans, you must protect yourself first. Although you are not floating now, if you continue on the current path, you will disappear. In Dark Phoenix, he didn't care about Jean's safety, and something went wrong. Raven also frowned slightly. She didn't think there was anything wrong with Charles' plan at first, but after what Duke said, she realized it. Charles nodded. I see. Is that what you're talking about today? Of course not, Duke said, changing the subject. That little girl called Jean just now, did you lie to her by saying that her parents are dead? Duke asked. How do you know? Charles was a little surprised. Find a time as soon as possible to tell her the truth and tell her that her father is still alive. But, Charles wanted to say something. You're not doing it for her own good. Duke waved his hand, then pointed at Raven. If you insist on going your own way, then your sister will die because of it. Although concealment was not the direct cause of Raven's death, it was a key trigger. What? Charles stood up abruptly. Raven's heart skipped a beat. The reason I kicked Hank out was because I didn't want that kid to be treated differently. You are all sensible people who have experienced big storms, and it's better to be honest with each other. It's not too late to make up for it now, Duke said. Charles, you're being self-righteous again, Raven retorted angrily. Not everyone appreciates being kept in the dark, and not everyone will believe you're doing it for their own good, even if it causes them pain. It's better to suffer early than late. Otherwise, this emotion will turn into hate sooner or later, Charles said through gritted teeth. Because I concealed the truth from her, Raven. Of course not, Raven interrupted. The root cause, as I said earlier, is that you're too arrogant. Charles fell silent. In your obsession to rescue the astronauts stranded in space, you overestimated the risks and exposed Jean to unknown energy. Not only did she survive, but she became stronger. Then she discovered the truth about her life. The energy was too powerful for her to control, and she lost control, accidentally killing Raven, Duke explained. Oh, not this again, Raven said, clutching her forehead in frustration. Charles, I remember you saying in front of the White House, this situation happened because you wanted to control me. I thought you had changed, but you're still the same. You want to control Jean. I'm not, Charles stammered, trying to defend himself. You are. Your desire to control is too strong, Raven insisted. No one likes being kept in the dark. This isn't protecting her. It's hurting her, Duke said, clapping his hands. All right, I'm not here to listen to your quarrel. If you want to change the future and prevent Raven's accidental death, first, tell Jean the truth. How you make her accept it gently is your problem. Second, if you can't let her go to heaven, don't let her go. But the first issue is the key. Think about it, Charles, Duke said before opening the door and returning to Karazhan. A week later, Karazhan disappeared again. In the blink of an eye, 8 years passed. 1983, Poland, Cow, Prussia. Henrik, it's a good thing you saved that man. That's not the point. If I'm exposed, we're all in danger. You have to get out of here. You can't stay here. I told you who I was the first time you saw me. I chose to trust you then, and now you have to trust me. We can't stay here any longer. I'll call Nina. She's not in her room, and she's not in the backyard. Henrik's first reaction was panic. He quickly grabbed a steel ball, put it in his pocket, and ran out. Sure enough, after running to the forest, he found his daughter had been caught by a group of police officers. Damn it, he cursed under his breath. The story will continue tomorrow. I hope friends will give it a lot of support, even if it's just a first order. End of this chapter. Chapter 124. 1 year, 1 degree, 1 release. The story behind this book. As the title suggests, I want to share the story behind the conception of this book, the initial ideas, and the journey it took to get here. Whether you choose to read it or not, I hope you find this insight interesting. Initially, the outline was titled Druids in the Movie and TV World. My goal was to integrate various film and television universes, such as Marvel, DC, Transformers, and second-generation goblins, to create a cohesive world. Everyone knows that Yifei is my goddess, and the first female lead was Bai Xianchu. This wasn't purely for the sake of writing about her. The main character's ability was set to be druid from the beginning. This ability fit well in second-generation goblins, because they are all beasts. It also made it easy for the character to be misunderstood and caught, allowing the plot to unfold naturally. However, I soon realized that the Oriental fantasy of second-generation goblin didn't mesh well with the Western-style Marvel world. It felt out of place, so second-generation goblin was left out, and the heroine changed from Bai Xianchu to Wonder Woman. Initially, I also wanted to integrate some TV dramas and animations, but after some thought, I discarded them as well. They just didn't fit. In the end, I retained only the movies from Marvel, DC, and other American films, discarding all anime and TV series. The focus was solely on the movie world. The idea of integrating different worlds actually came from 2 books I read a long time ago, probably around the 3rd or 5th month of the new year. One featured Zhang Wei from Love Apartment, who traveled through time to become a lawyer. The author merged some urban dramas together, and I remember that his heroine was also played by Yifei. This influenced my initial choice of Bai Xianchu as the heroine. The other book combined various Hong Kong dramas, featuring police detectives and movies from that era, like those played by Uncle Long. That's how the idea of integrating different worlds was born. Initially, I considered integrating the animation world, but I soon realized it was very challenging. Each anime has its own rules, making it difficult to merge them together. The worldviews didn't match, and it wasn't easy to handle. So I shifted focus to the film and television world, leading to the initial outline, Druids in the Film and Television World. After excluding Bai Xianchu, I settled on 3 heroines, Wonder Woman, Queen Mara of Atlantis, and Phoenix Girl. Druids can plant the world tree and weave the Emerald Dream. At this point, I needed someone to take care of the dream world for the protagonist, and Phoenix Girl, with her powerful psychic abilities, fit perfectly into the heroine sequence. Why didn't I write Druids in the World of Film and Television in the end? While drafting the outline, I came across a book with a similar name that also moved the Druid system from Warcraft to Marvel. The author rushed it, and I became worried. Would Druids be accepted? Although there is a popular Druid book from Dark World, I was concerned whether a Druid who transforms into a beast could perfectly integrate into the Marvel world and be accepted by Marvel fans. So I changed the setting, turning the Druid into a mage. After all, there are mages in the Marvel world, making it easier to accept. With the occupation changed, there would be no world tree and no Emerald Dreamland, so Phoenix Girl was ruled out as one of the heroines. Her style didn't fit the new direction. After much consideration, the 3 heroines were ultimately reduced to 2, Wonder Woman and Mara of the Sea. Additionally, there are 2 versions of Phoenix Girl. Personally, I prefer the younger version portrayed by Sophie Turner. The uniform she wore when she defeated Apocalypse was very striking. However, many people favor the older version, and some might find it challenging to relate to the younger one, so she won't be included as a heroine in this story. It too, okay, a month or 2 to finalize the current version, involving careful planning of the timeline, ages, and locations for each movie plot. Adjustments to the movie timelines were made to better fit the narrative. Everything was arranged to enhance the plot's coherence. P.S. I wonder if anyone will take inspiration from the Druid setting and write a book? Let's discuss the strength level settings. Although my system is somewhat simplified, it is straightforward. Transitioning to Marvel's level divisions is challenging due to the integrated world, making it hard to define strength levels accurately. Marvel's levels, Earth level, Heavenly Father level, Single Universe level, Multiverse level, Super Universe level, Omnipotent Universe level, are complex and not always compatible with other worlds. In this book, reaching the Heavenly Father level is sufficient. Even within the Earth level, there is a significant disparity in strength. For instance, Iron Man, Captain America, and Hulk are all considered Earth level, but their strengths vary greatly. There are other strength distinctions, but they are numerous and often confusing. My system, though simplified, provides a clear division of strength for the heroes. Some might question why Ares, a god, is classified as a demigod. The term demigod here refers to a strength division, not his divine status. Among gods, there are varying levels of strength, such as legendary gods and heroic gods. Even within the demigod category, there are different strength levels. Ares can kill gods because of his strength, not his divine status. Duke, though not a Protoss, can also reach demigod strength and is more powerful than some gods. The book is finally available for purchase, and its success depends on subscriptions. I understand that some people will resort to pirated copies, which is unavoidable. However, I hope you can support the official release with a first-day purchase. It's just a few cents. Thank you. Lastly, while I encourage everyone to support the genuine version, I acknowledge the reality that some will seek out pirated versions. If you do, please refrain from posting comments in the book review area, especially negative ones. Let's keep the community respectful. Thank you. All right. That's all for now. Let's continue reading. End of this chapter. Chapter 125. Sheoduk Henrik raised his hand to signal his wife to stop, and he walked forward slowly. Nina, are you okay? He asked. She's fine, replied a police officer. Then let her go. No problem. We just want to talk to you. You don't even have police badges, Henrik pointed out. Leave no metal. That's right. Henrik's true identity is Magneto. Is this you? The leading police officer picked up an old newspaper, showing a scene of Magneto giving an impromptu speech in front of the White House in '73. At this point, Magneto realized his identity had been exposed. You are the legendary Magneto, the officer exclaimed. Magneto turned his head to look at his wife and sighed softly. Take me away, please. Let go of my daughter. I've been hiding for 10 years, and I'm tired. The leading policeman hesitated for a moment, but then released Nina. Go find your mother, Magneto instructed. Magneto was willing to be bound. Please don't leave me. I won't allow them to take you away, Nina cried, and the world changed in the next instant. The whole forest came alive, and the chirping of hawks filled the air. It was as if all the hawks and sparrows in the forest had gathered together. The vicious hawks circled and danced anxiously, waiting for an opportunity to strike. The police officers panicked. What's happening? Is she a mutant too? Make her stop, Magneto shouted. She can't control it. She's very scared now. I won't let them take you away. Nina's pupils shrank suddenly, and the hawks hovering in the sky seemed to receive an order, swooping down. Some unlucky officers were pecked viciously. Make her stop! A panicked police officer released an arrow, hitting Nina in the back. Magneto's complexion changed drastically. At that moment, a red light burst out, forming a shield around them. The arrow that had shot through them was deflected, stopping just 5 millimeters from Nina's skin. If not for the sudden appearance of this strange red light, they would have died. The two people inside the red shield were confused. What was this? Magneto noticed a red jade tablet, a ruby, at the top of the shield. It was given to him by Duke. His thoughts drifted back to '73, the moment he left the White House. As he was flying, a portal appeared in front of him, and he crashed into it before he could stop. He knew it was Duke's portal. He thought Duke was going to catch him for messing up the plan, but Duke just said goodbye and gave him a gift. Duke repeatedly told him, if you have a daughter, make sure she wears this jade plaque and never takes it off. One day it will save her life. Duke then left, without further explanation. The gift was given, and it was up to Magneto to use it or not. At first, Magneto was confused, but he knew Duke had the ability to see the future. Could it be that he would really have a daughter, and that she would face danger? When he met Magda, he was still doubtful, until Magda gave birth to their daughter. Although the probability was 50%, Duke was someone who could see the future. Magneto chose to be obedient and hung the jade plaque around his daughter's neck, repeatedly telling his wife not to lose it. As his daughter grew older, he reminded and checked it regularly. Finally, at the end of the memory, the shield. The jade card's effect lasted only 10 seconds before it gradually disappeared. Indecisiveness leads to disaster. He had to run away. These people probably wouldn't spare his daughter. Lao Wan's hand shook as steel balls flew out of his pocket, whizzing through the crowd. They didn't kill anyone, just knocked them unconscious. Well, this could be considered a good deed by Duke. Henry, what is this? Magda stared blankly at the jade tablet in her hand, its red light gradually dimming. This was something her husband had repeatedly told her not to lose. Every time her daughter came home, she checked it. Relief and fear mingled in her heart. If this jade tablet had been lost, her daughter would have been shot to death by an arrow today. She didn't know that she herself would have been shot to death as well, incensed by arrows. This is a gift from an old friend of mine. Let's go, dear. Nina, we have to hurry and get out of here. Lao Wan hurriedly took the hands of his daughter and wife, and they ran home in a rush. They didn't clean up anything, only taking items of meaningful and commemorative value, money, and some food. They might have to hide for a while before they could leave. No, they had to catch the time. Those people would sleep for up to 12 hours. After 12 hours, he might be wanted again, so he could only take advantage of this time to leave. Where are we going? Magda asked. To New York. New York? Yes. Go. At that moment, a purple ball of light appeared in front of the three of them out of thin air, and then a blue-skinned man covered in pipes walked out of it. With a sense of advanced technology, he didn't seem to be a human being from Earth. Who the hell are you? Stop! Lao Wan shot, and the steel balls instantly turned into countless steel needles floating by his side. Calm down, child. I am not hostile. I am here for you. Why did these words sound so affectionate? This guy looked formidable. He didn't feel like an opponent, and there were 3 good enemies behind, so the situation was not very good. For me? Yes, child, the world needs to be reshaped. Come with me, we will do it together. Where did this big villain come from? Didn't he know that villains are destined to be overthrown by heroes? He was a prime example, but this was a good opportunity. I'm on the run. See your ability. Can you give us a ride and send my wife and daughter to New York? Lao Wan said, just right, saving the turning point. Of course. Magda grabbed Lao Wan's hand nervously, and their daughter Nina hadn't recovered from the panic just now. Nina, be good. Follow Mom. I'll come back as soon as I can. Are you really coming back? Promise. No change for 100 years. With a flash of light, the group appeared on the outskirts of New York. Go, find a man named Samir. He was my former friend. Do you remember my diary, page 36? His address is there. With him taking care of you, you will be safe. Don't worry about me. I'll come back as soon as I can. Nina, you are a big girl now. Take care of your mother. Lao Wan explained. He originally wanted to hand over his wife and daughter to his old friend Charles, but he feared that Charles might not be able to handle the supervillain in front of him, and he needed to see what this villain's purpose was. Well, you promised me. Go and come back. After the ball of light disappeared, Magda immediately opened the suitcase and found Lao Wan's diary, turning to page 36. Sure enough, there was an address on it. She took her daughter's hand. Nina, let's go. Having been married for 10 years, she understood the subtext of Lao Wan's words. She was looking for help. Although it didn't explicitly mean help, there was an allusion to telling the other party about it. Thank you to everyone who supported the new book during its release. I can't see the support from the other side of the world, but you are all in my heart. 八云有无，八云能是八云乐舞云秀，望奏耐客，不落翻天式，东方树叶一，霹雳游侠降。 道友请留步有孤烟有矣，孤烟有迹。埃里克斯日 Venus， 我是天鬼，飞渡云霄，小丑亦云，忽云飞飞，速速儿红尘。书有2019-108-172。穿越了的羽毛，新之主，圣光啊，听我号令，勇敢的懒猫。书有2018-1117-18-0540-119。逍遥墨，哭着回666，星空下的冲炮手，我在西飞。书有2017-03-09-03-19-1末。It seems like you've provided a placeholder text, indicating the end of a chapter. To help you with the translation and enhancement of your novel, please provide the actual content of the chapter that needs to be improved. Once you share the text, I'll be able to assist you in refining it for better readability and quality. Chapter 124, Unexpected Visitors. If there's anything Samir excels at, it's magic without a doubt. Following closely are wine, food, and beauty. Duke doesn't mind the personal issues of his subordinates, as long as they remain loyal and uphold their duties. The bald professor, for instance, has many lovers. In Heaven's Kitchen, just as Samir was enjoying his wine, one of his subordinates rushed in. My lord, someone is looking for you. They claim to be your friend's wife and daughter. What? Samir paused, the fork with a piece of steak hovering near his mouth. He was puzzled. When did he have friends? For decades, he had only subordinates, lovers, and bosses. Those who have been at the top for a long time often find themselves without friends, destined for loneliness. The only people he could consider friends were Dushan Carlos and Leon. Initially, he treated Carlos as boss wife number 2, because he suspected the boss had an interest in her. Later, he realized the boss had no such intention, so he regarded her as a friend. Leon, being the boss's apprentice, naturally fell into the friend category. Then there was Logan, who had a somewhat compatible temperament. As for Victor, it was best not to speculate. His old friends had long passed away. Charlie and the Chief died 20 years ago, and Steve Trevor succumbed to illness 5 years ago. The X-Men were partners, not friends. Samir's definition of friend was very high. Karajan had a mutual help and cooperation relationship with the X-Men, a decision made by Diana after the boss fell asleep. Friends? Why would I have friends? Get them out, Samir said, putting the fork into his mouth and savoring the steak. Logan was the one with a wife and daughter, but his subordinates would know better than to address him in such a tone. Besides, Carla the Silver Fox and her daughter Laura would never come to him. If they needed help, they would seek Logan, not him. Little Laura was only 3 years old. Although she was fast due to her mutant gene, her mother wouldn't bring her to play with him. Yes, my lord, the subordinate replied respectfully, turning to leave. Wait, Samir called out. My lord, what else can I do for you? The subordinate asked. Bring them up. I want to see who dares to deceive in my name. Soon, Magda and Nina were led in. Before they could speak, Samir took out a gun and slapped it on the table. Tell me, who are you? If you don't give me a satisfactory answer, I will shoot you both. Pay attention. It's 1 shot, 2 crashes. Magda was unafraid. She was a woman who had faced many challenges. To be with Magneto, one had to be bold. My husband's name is Henrik, she said in fluent Polish-accented English. Who? Samir asked, confused. He also goes by the name Eric. Hiss. Samir gasped and stood up abruptly. Eric? Magneto? You're actually Lao Wan's woman? That's incredible. Is this Lao Wan's daughter? What's her name? My name is Nina, the little girl said timidly, clutching her mother's hand. Magda breathed a sigh of relief. It seemed this man was indeed her husband's friend. In reality, she misunderstood. Samir had learned the name Lao Wan from Duke. He had no real friendship with Magneto. They had only cooperated for a little over 10 days. However, he knew the boss was optimistic about Magneto, so he decided to treat him as a friend. I have a question. Although Lao Wan and I are considered friends, he actually has a better relationship with. Why did he send you to me? Samir asked, puzzled. Maybe he thinks you are stronger, or perhaps you, as in Professor Charles, Magda replied, understanding his reference. Oh, that's true. So, does Lao Wan have a problem? Samir inquired. He was taken away by someone, and he didn't resist. I know that person might be more powerful than... Magda began to explain. Samir quickly explained what had just happened. So just you. Before he could finish, one of his subordinates suddenly shouted, "Boss, look out the window." "What are you panicking about? Crab!" Samir exclaimed, his eyes widening in shock. Countless nuclear missiles were being launched into the sky. "Is this the start of a third world war?" Magda, equally flustered, asked. "Could it be that person who did this?" "You mean the guy who took away Lao Wan?" Samir was taken aback. "It's hard to say, but maybe," Magda replied. "Crab!" Samir cursed, grabbing his gun and putting on his communication crystal. He strode out of the room. "You, arrange a room for them and ensure their absolute safety." "Yes, my lord," the subordinate nodded quickly. "You all stay here for now. I have to deal with this trouble," Samir instructed. "Please, you must bring him back," Xiao Guliang Nina pleaded. "Don't worry." Samir smiled reassuringly at Xiaogu before turning and jumping out of the window. He stepped on the air and rushed towards Broadway. Madam, this is serious. Have you seen it?" Diana, who was working as a painter in a gallery on Broadway, responded, "I already know. I'm at X Academy." In midair, Samir abruptly changed direction and headed towards Westchester X Academy. "Miss Boss, why are you over there?" "Someone raided the X Academy. It's almost in ruins. I came too late. They've already taken away Professor Charles," Diana explained. "What? So many X-Men couldn't stop that man. He must be incredibly powerful. By the way, I just received Magneto's wife and daughter. According to Magda, Magneto was taken away by a blue-skinned man," Samir said. "That matches what the X-Men here said. It was indeed a blue-skinned person who can teleport," Diana confirmed. "Should we call the boss?" Samir asked. Diana thought for a moment. "No need. This time we'll handle the trouble ourselves." "Can you wake me up? It's strange to wake up shouting. When the tool man used it, the battle was so fierce that he couldn't wake it up. Can you wake him up if you slap him a few times now?" "Innocent." Samir muttered to himself. "Well, do we need to notify Logan and the others?" Samir asked. "Notify them," Diana replied. "Got it," Samir acknowledged. The X Academy was in chaos, having been blown up by Alex. Fortunately, it was saved by Quicksilver, who had come to find the professor. P.S. Since Quicksilver is here, the name in Reunion 2 will no longer be Quicksilver, and his identity will also change. But that's a story for another time. "Hello, Miss Diana," Hank the Beast greeted her, sighing as he looked at the ruined old house. He had lived there for many years and had grown attached to it. Now, it was in ruins. End of this chapter. Chapter 127, The Ancient Portal. Despite his best efforts, Alex couldn't avoid being killed on the spot. "Miss Diana, what now?" Beast asked, his voice tinged with urgency. Diana frowned, deep in thought. Suddenly, she said, "I remember now. Duke gave me a box before he went into his deep sleep. He said that if he didn't wake up by 1983 and the nuclear egg liftoff happened, I should open the box. If it didn't happen, then the box should remain closed." "What box? Did he foresee the future again?" Beast's excitement was palpable. Was this another chance to alter the future? "It's not that easy to predict the future. The future is full of variables," Diana replied, shaking her head. I know, quantum mechanics and all that." Beast began, but Diana interrupted him. "First, let's get the children to take refuge in Karazhan. They should stay there until this crisis is resolved." "All right," Beast nodded. There was no better plan at the moment. "Everyone, follow me." There was no longer any threat from William Stryker trying to arrest them. "Are you Jean Grey?" Diana suddenly turned her head and looked to the side. "Yes, it's me," replied the 18-year-old Jean Grey, already showing signs of her formidable powers. Diana nodded, saying nothing more. She had heard Duke mention this young girl, but had never met her. Although they had cooperated briefly in the past, nothing significant had happened in the last 10 years. Jean had grown into a beautiful young woman, though perhaps a bit too voluptuous for Diana's taste. After opening the magical barrier, a large purple monster roared and crawled over, scaring the children. "Stand back!" Diana commanded sharply. The monster shook its head, turned, and left. It was a skeleton reptile from Skull Island. "Don't be afraid, come with me," Diana reassured the children. "For now, you will stay on the first floor. Do not wander beyond it. There are traps everywhere, and if you fall into one, I won't be able to save you." She granted them access to the first floor, and after a stern warning, returned to her bedroom to retrieve the box. She then walked back to the group. "How is it?" Beast asked. "It's a bit troublesome. It's an ancient being from 3600 BC. You'd better see for yourself," Diana said, handing over a piece of paper from the box. Beast and the others were stunned as they read it. On Sabah Nur, Apocalypse. The 4 Horsemen of Apocalypse? Mystique Raven looked equally surprised. The oldest mutant? Isn't he our ancestor? Jean shook her head. It doesn't say he's the oldest or the first mutant, it just says he's one of the few mutants who have existed for a long time in Earth's history. His development is closely tied to the mutant race. Oh, Beast murmured, still processing the information. The 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse? I remember there were indeed 4 subordinates beside the blue-skinned man. But we didn't know them, except for Eric, and we didn't know their abilities. What are they planning to do with Charles? Do they want to make him the 5th Horseman of the Apocalypse? What's this about seizing a house? Cyclops asked, curious. Does it mean transferring his consciousness into the professor's body and taking over? Quicksilver guessed. What about Charles? Raven's voice was tense. I'm afraid his consciousness will be annihilated, Quicksilver said. If it's just consciousness, that's one thing, but I'm worried he'll bring over the abilities he's acquired, Diana added. Wait, you mean he can acquire abilities one after another? Beast was bewildered. Are you guys going to join the battle? Diana asked. Of course, they all replied in unison. We're going to get the professor back. Just then, Samir, Logan, and others returned. For a moment there, I thought I was going to die, Logan said, lighting a cigarette and puffing out a smoke ring. During World War II, I was in Japan when a nuclear bomb exploded. Although I wasn't directly hit, it was close enough. Just now, I thought nuclear bombs would fall from the east sky. With so many nuclear bombs, I don't know if I can handle them. Samir, Logan, Victor, let's go, Diana said. Where to? Logan asked. To find the Ancient One, Diana replied. Beast was curious. Who is the Ancient One? Diana held up 2 pieces of paper left by Duke. She had withheld the second piece, which instructed them to find the Ancient One. After being threatened by Diana, the guards of the Sanctum Sanctorum in New York reluctantly agreed to open the portal to Camartage. Thus, the group found themselves in a whole new world. The Ancient One warmly received them. Guardians of the Amazon, it's not that I don't want to help you, but, she began. At that moment, a loud, bell-like voice echoed through the room. Listen up, all inhabitants of this world. Jean was stunned for a moment. Is that the professor? A message to all men, women, and mutants of the world. You have lost your way, but I have returned. Today is your day of judgment. All your buildings, all your towers and monasteries will fall. A new era is coming, and you won't be able to do anything about it. This message has only one purpose, to tell the strongest and most capable among you, please protect the weak. This is my message to the world. Halfway through, the professor changed the message. In fact, Apocalypse was quite easy to talk to. The professor had not been beaten to death for disobeying him so much. If Duke were to play the role of Apocalypse, he would have been knocked out directly. Anyway, it's okay to seize the house, as long as you are still alive. Poor Uncle Logan. If he had lived before 3600 BC, he would probably have been caught by Apocalypse to replace his body. Wait, the self-healing bald head that Apocalypse replaced his body with, could it be the ancestor of Uncle Logan? Did you hear that? If you don't act now, the human world will collapse. You are protecting this world from foreign magical invasions, but if this world disappears on its own, do you still need to protect it? Diana asked. Okay, I agree to help you, the Ancient One finally nodded. Jean quickly added, the professor sent me a message just now. They are in Cairo at the moment. A portal to Cairo opened with a soft chime. Through it, they could clearly see that Cairo had become a purgatory on Earth. The city was destroyed, buildings had collapsed, and a city with a history of 5,000 years had disappeared from the Earth. The magnetic field manipulated by Magneto was raging, and it was just the beginning. It hadn't reached its maximum scale yet. Seeing this, the Ancient One frowned deeply. I don't have time to give you spiritual counseling. This is the first battle for most of you. If you don't want to go, you can leave, Diana said. No one moved. Okay, let's go, she commanded. End of this chapter. Chapter 128, Deja Vu. They brought the professor inside the pyramid, John Gray said. We need a plan, Raven added. I am the plan, Guyi declared, glancing back before flying out with his hands behind his back, as if passing through a wall. He looked as impressive as ever. Immediately afterward, the surroundings seemed to freeze, and countless mirror fragments floated out, pulling everyone into a magical world. The mirror space suddenly expanded, enveloping the entire pyramid and all of Cairo. Magneto, who was using the global magnetic control field, lost control of his powers in an instant. The ability collapsed, and the real world, previously devastated as if it were the end of days, became instantly quiet. Everyone was shocked. Was this the power of the Supreme Master? Diana was also taken aback. Was this the strength of a semi-god-level mage? What kind of ability is this? Jean Grey asked, astonished. This is the mirror space, a special dimension that separates from the real world. No matter how much damage occurs inside, it won't affect the real world, Guyi explained. This mirrored space isn't part of the real world, but within it, both magic and physical forces like magnetism and metal still exist. For example, in Avengers Infinity War, Doctor Strange used the mirror space to trap Ebony Maw and Black Dwarf. Inside, Ebony Maw could still use his telekinetic abilities to trap Doctor Strange within a wall. Therefore, the metal inside is also real metal, and Magneto can control it. Guyi briefly explained and then rushed towards Magneto, clearly intending to restrain him first. Wait, leave him to me, Diana interjected. Beast and Raven exchanged glances, confused. I think I've told you that if he makes another mistake, I'll kill him with my own hands. I wanted to do that as early as when Washington was in chaos, Diana said, turning to look at Beast and Raven. This? The two were at a loss for words. Duke had indeed brought Diana to X Academy and had notified them in advance. Although they were reluctant, they eventually agreed because they knew Eric was an unstable factor. Besides, Magneto had been a supervillain before. But, Raven began, wait a minute, he's my father. Quicksilver suddenly flashed in front of Diana, stopping her. And? Diana asked. He left my mom before I was born. I saw him on TV this week and went to find him, but when I got there, it was too late. Although I move very fast, I'm always too late. Quicksilver sighed. I'll take him down and hand him over to you. This is the last chance I'll give him. Diana thought for a moment and then withdrew her intention to kill Magneto. She simply didn't want to kill a father in front of his son. That would be too cruel. Thank you. Quicksilver began, but before he could finish, Diana leaped forward like a meteor. The group was shocked again. This woman was incredibly powerful. Even Beast and Raven, who had never truly seen Diana's strength, were taken aback. They only knew her relationship with Duke and deduced that she was powerful. There were not many weak people around Duke, but they never imagined she would be this powerful. Magneto noticed the intruder. He had never seen Diana before and immediately controlled the metal to attack her. However, the metal was blocked by the intruder, greatly surprising Magneto. Diana soared in midair, deflecting the incoming metal with punches and arm movements. No metal could harm her, even if it was repelled. Does this scene look familiar to you? Logan asked, puzzled. In World War I, she looked like this when she fought Ares, Victor added. Oh, I remember, Logan exclaimed. Back at the German base, Ares had controlled metal, earth, and wood to attack Diana, and she had deflected them just like this. The past repeats itself, evoking a sense of nostalgia. The rest of the group was a bit bewildered. World War I? Ares? This is ancient history. Given the example of the ancient being from 3600 BC, they were only mildly shocked. Lao Wan was particularly confused and a bit panicked. What ability should he use? Then, as Diana approached, she punched the ground with a powerful fist. KO. To be honest, mutants have strong abilities but weak bodies. While some mutants have enhanced physical strength, unfortunately, Lao Wan is not one of them. Even though his abilities were augmented by Apocalypse, they were useless against someone with Diana's strength. The heroine didn't even use her full power. If she had, she would have obliterated him long ago. Although her punch isn't as devastating as One Punch Man, it far surpasses the attack power of bullets. Bullets can pierce Magneto's neck, but Diana could blow Lao Wan's head off with a single punch. Of course, if it weren't for the mirror space, Lao Wan wouldn't have been defeated so quickly. The mirror space trapped his abilities within the confines of Cairo. He couldn't harness more powerful magnetic forces, so his abilities were somewhat diminished, forcing him to use the metal within the mirror space to fight back. Even in the real world, he wouldn't be a match for Diana. It would only delay the inevitable by about 10 minutes. This brutal encounter served as a stark reminder to everyone. If a mage fights a warrior, don't get close, especially if it's a level 60 mage versus a level 90 warrior. Lying on the ground, Lao Wan was a bit dazed. Who am I? Where am I? Why am I lying here? Oh, I'm Lao Wan, and I was KO'd by someone with a single punch. The heroine picked up his helmet and stomped on it. Magneto, I wanted to kill you when I was in Huasheng. However, Duke stopped me and said to give you another chance. In 10 years, you're back on the same old path. Ahem, Duke, you are. Lao Wan coughed and stood up, his head still a bit dizzy. He's my husband. Cough. I'm sorry, and thank you, Duke, for saving my daughter's life with this gift. Magneto coughed and wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. Diana was momentarily stunned, but then understood. It must have been a gift from Duke when he was pursuing Magneto in Huasheng. You still know how to be grateful. If I had known, I would have— Forget it. Thank your son. If it wasn't for him, you would have died long ago. Diana snorted coldly. Lao Wan was stunned. Wait, my son? Swish, Quine appeared. Are you— Okay? Who are you? He is your son. Quine was even more shocked. I hadn't thought of admitting. Why? Is it a copyright issue? Huh? Quine was a bit confused. Okay, you two can talk it out. What about the others? Diana turned her head to look around. It should be over soon, right? Quine pointed to the distance. It was simply a massacre. Awful. How miserable. End of this chapter. Chapter 129, Wake Up. In the original Apocalypse, the battle lineup included Riven, Beast, Jean Grey, Cyclops, and Quicksilver against Archangel, Psylocke, Storm, Magneto, and Apocalypse. Essentially, it was a 5 versus 5 showdown. The bald professor, Charles Xavier, was mostly a bystander. However, the current scenario is different. Not only are Logan, Victor, and Samir present, but also Wonder Woman Diana, who has recently ascended to the demigod realm, and the ancient demigod Supreme Sorcerer, Ancient One. This makes it a 10 versus 5 battle, with the power levels heavily skewed in favor of the heroes. The outcome is obvious. At the beginning, Guyi cast a massive spell, transforming the entire city of Cairo into a mirror dimension. Apocalypse, who was in the process of transferring his consciousness, was abruptly interrupted and couldn't locate Charles. Why? Because Charles wasn't in the mirror dimension. Guyi had thrown him out, making him the only player lying in the ruins of Cairo, effectively winning by default. Similar to the original ending, Guyi didn't intervene directly. Apocalypse was still incinerated by Jean Grey, who unleashed the power of the Phoenix. Thus, the Apocalypse arc concluded. Judgment time. I planned to find you from the beginning. I was waiting for you to arrive and then stop the Apocalypse, Diana said, slamming the table. According to you, was I wrong? No, Magneto, also known as Lao Wan, panicked. After Guyi withdrew from the mirror dimension and left, he refused to accept defeat and fought Diana. The battle lasted only 5 minutes before he was punched out again. Only then did he realize he was no match for Diana. Additionally, his enhanced powers seemed to have diminished, possibly disappearing after Apocalypse's death. Humph, Diana scoffed. But it's true. I was going to use the magnetic force of the entire Cairo ground to attack Apocalypse. I was waiting for you to come, so I sent my daughter to Samir to inform you and Duke. I never expected a more powerful Supreme Sorcerer to arrive, Lao Wan explained. This was indeed true. The magnetic field eruption was concentrated only in the Cairo area and did not spread to other regions. The Brooklyn Bridge broke in half, the Sydney Opera House burst, and so on. Cairo, being a no-man's land, had all its metal under Magneto's control. Unfortunately, he waited until the coalition forces arrived to kill him, ignoring a key issue, and was subsequently flattened by Wonder Woman. Ma'am, he did send a woman named Magda and a little girl named Nina to me, Samir whispered. However, out of respect for Diana, he didn't elaborate further. In his opinion, even a villain wouldn't endanger his own family. If Magneto truly intended to destroy the world, wouldn't his wife and daughter be taken hostage? Diana glared at Samir. I think you've been too comfortable in Hell's Kitchen. Go simulate actual combat, 100 rounds. Huh? Samir's expression collapsed instantly. Okay, the rest is your internal affair. I'm leaving, Diana said, getting up to leave. My opinion of Rui Wen is right, and it is true of you, the bald Professor Charles said seriously to Magneto, their complicated friendship evident. What about the rest of the world? Don't you wake up in the middle of the night thinking that one day they're going to arrest you and your kids? Charles asked. I do, Magneto admitted. What will you do when you wake up? Charles pressed. I have a lot of sympathy for those who come to my school to make trouble, Charles said. Are you sure I can't convince you to stay? Charles asked. Charles, you have mind control. You can persuade me to do anything, Magneto said, patting his old friend on the shoulder before striding away. I will count you in for the credit of Cairo. This way, they may revoke the search warrant for you. For your wife, daughter, and son, think about it carefully, Charles advised. Magneto paused slightly but continued walking forward. Thank you. You know, there is more than one person who can kill you. If you continue, I can't convince them, Charles finally shouted. Goodbye, old friend. Goodbye, Magneto replied, his voice trailing off as he walked away. Lao Wan didn't stop, waved his hand and disappeared around the corner. He was going to pick up his daughter. 1985. Duke suddenly opened his eyes and woke up again. Are you awake? Diana asked, her voice filled with joy. Have you advanced? No. I was awakened by someone, Duke replied, rubbing his head. He felt as though he had slept for a long time. What year is it now? 1985. 10 years, Duke murmured. Some people always thought that his advancement was as simple as sleeping and then waking up, as if he just closed and opened his eyes. Unfortunately, they didn't understand the dangers of traveling in the astral world. In the astral world, he didn't have a physical body, but a consciousness body. Although it wasn't exactly the same as a soul body, the situation was similar. While he wouldn't die, he could still be injured in the astral world. Any injuries there would cause a backlash to his physical body in reality. Moreover, in the star realm, he was alone, facing hundreds of potentially powerful enemies. A single mistake could cause him to get lost in the astral vortex. No matter how many years he slept, he traveled and fought in the astral world for as many years as he did in reality. It could be simply understood as traveling, exploring, and fighting in dreams for 10 years. And there was no outsider to witness it. Who woke you up? Diana asked. It was Shan. Shan? Diana froze for a moment. The name sounded both strange and familiar. After searching through her memory, she finally found the clue. Shan was the Chinese girl from Skull Island in 73, one of the core members of the Emperor Project. Although Diana had been keeping an eye on those big monsters, the progress of the Emperor Project had been quite slow, so she had to give up. Was it the gem you gave her that woke you up? I remember you said that if she was ever in danger, she could hold it and shout, and you would come to save her. Moreover, the gem was supposed to be a one-time use. Could she be in danger now? That gemstone can directly reach my consciousness. Now it seems. Forget it. I'll go and see the situation first, Duke said. With that, he opened a portal and disappeared. Diana was a little speechless, thinking that he really valued that girl. Girl? It had been 12 years, so she should be a menopausal woman by now, right? About an hour later, the portal opened again, and Duke returned, but he wasn't alone. He led a very innocent-looking girl back with him. When Diana saw this girl, only one word came to her mind: pure. The girl's white dress was still wet, and her hair was also wet, indicating she had just been fished out of the water. What's the situation? Diana asked. Don't talk about it. I'm a little confused myself. Let her take a shower and change clothes first, Duke said, sounding depressed. End of this chapter. Chapter 130, 128.14 years old at the peak of beauty. Soon, Diana returned. Is everything arranged? She asked. Tell me, what happened to her? Didn't you go to find Shan? Why did you bring back a girl who fell into the water instead? Diana inquired, puzzled. She gave away the gem, Duke replied angrily. What? Diana exclaimed, shocked. How could she give something like that away? Duke opened a portal and went directly to the Richard Wagner International Girls' School in Switzerland. There, he rescued Jennifer, who was panicking at the time, the same girl they had just seen. The The moment he saw the girl in the white dress, he recognized her immediately. She was the young goddess Jennifer Connelly, a favorite of Duke's from his previous life, often referred to as the American version of Little Dragon Girl in the 80s. Pure indeed, very pure. She was even purer than the actress who played the Little Dragon Girl. Duke first knew her from her role as Betty Ross in The Incredible Hulk in 2003. Then he discovered her amazing dancing scene as Deborah in Once Upon a Time in America, which became a classic. Jennifer also starred in Myth. People often debated which year marked the peak of Jennifer's beauty. Some said it was during Once Upon a Time in America, Death of a Swan, The City of Souls, or A Beautiful Mind. However, in Duke's opinion, her appearance peaked at 15 in Myth. She had a high-spirited figure and a perfect face, outshining many actresses. Although Myth was released in January 1985, it was likely filmed in 1984, making Jennifer 14 years old at the time. Duke believed that the 14-year-old Jennifer Connelly represented the pinnacle of beauty. At 13, during Once Upon a Time in America, she was still very young. At 14, she was transitioning from youthful innocence to mature beauty, combining the pure green of an apple with the explosive allure of a peach. In Myth, a crazy killer appeared at the girls' school where the heroine attended. Jennifer, who suffered from sleepwalking, was suspected by teachers and classmates as the murderer. In the end, she used her special ability to attract insects to find the real killer. What Duke never imagined was that Jennifer was actually a mutant in this world, and attracting insects was her mutant ability. Additionally, the gemstone given to Shan was with her, and she had just killed someone, so Duke brought her back. The ruby was a gift from Shan to her mother, who then gave it to Jennifer before leaving for work in the Philippines. It was inferred that Jennifer's parents were likely members of the Emperor's Project, given their close contact with Shan. I really didn't expect Shan to give away the life-saving gem, Diana said, a bit emotional. She said Shan wasn't going to need it, Duke explained. Ah, what do you mean by not needed? Is she dead? Diana asked, concerned. Probably not, Duke shook his head. Jennifer doesn't know either. She just heard from her mother that the original owner no longer needed it. Something must have happened, but it didn't necessarily mean Shan was dead. The gem was special. Besides saving a life, it had the ability to return the soul to Karazhan. In other words, if Shan carried this gem and died, her soul would appear directly in Karazhan. However, this function couldn't be activated if she didn't have the gem with her. What was certain was that she didn't die before sending the gem. Then what are you going to do with the girl? Diana asked. I think she has pretty good qualifications, Duke replied. So, you want to take her as an apprentice? Is she a mutant? Diana inquired. The detection equipment they carried was much more advanced than that of Bolivar, thanks to Dr. Erskine must be a high-quality product. Well, but they are very weak. They should belong to the 6th level of mutants. There is no obvious difference between mutants at this level and humans, and their abilities are also weaker. Many people don't even know they are mutants, Duke explained. For example, Deadpool's part, Nur Domino, is at this level. Her ability is luck. What is she capable of? Diana asked. Attracting insects. Insects. Diana clicked her tongue. She didn't like insects very much, but Bug Feast was pretty good. One day she went to Chinatown to eat and found it really delicious. Duke planned to pass on the ability of Nude to Jennifer, but it wasn't particularly impressive. The main reason was that Druid had a skill called Bug Swarm, which summoned a swarm of bugs to attack the enemy, very similar to her ability. However, Duke didn't really like the idea of flying bugs everywhere. After becoming a milk virtue, he might not need it, as he had other abilities. It should be noted that Naidu not only heals, but also mobilizes the energy of sunlight and moonlight. By the way, didn't you fall in love with her? Suddenly, Diana's tone changed, and she looked at Duke sideways. Ahem, my wife, don't mess around. She's still a 14-year-old child. Tell me, even if you really like her, I won't be angry. Diana smiled and raised her hand to tickle him. Ahem, don't be joking. She's here. Duke quickly changed the subject. Want to lie to me? Do you really think that I have read so many web novels for nothing? Heh, a woman's mouth is a deceitful ghost. You gotta listen. You're an ass. Sir, ma'am. Jennifer walked slowly and gave a ladylike salute, very aristocratic. See, that's being polite. By the way, you said your name was Jennifer just now. Could it be Connolly? Duke asked. No. Jennifer was a little confused. She didn't know why he asked, but she still shook her head. Could it be Lawrence? Duke curled his lips. Wouldn't she be the eldest cousin? No, it's Jennifer Calvino. Duke nodded. Not as good as Connery. If she hadn't changed her surname, she should have... Forget it. Let's put it this way, the situation is pretty obvious now. Because you killed someone, and you have no evidence to prove that you were acting in self-defense. So you are now a murderer. But you're not. Jennifer was startled. The person who gave you the gem told you that as long as you shouted, I would save you, right? That's right. Didn't I already save you? Besides, this gem was not given to you, so it's only natural that I don't save you. I'm very powerful, I can control people's minds, and it's easy to acquit you, but why should I keep saving you? Duke asked with his hands on his chin. I can give you money. Do you think I'm short of money? Jennifer panicked. She had simply scanned the surroundings just now. This was an old castle. Those who could live in a castle were nobles, and of course, they had no shortage of money. You are not my relative, nor my friend, and have nothing to do with me. Why should I save you? Jennifer tensed up, trembling a little. Well, you will be my apprentice, so that I can save you. Really? Heh, it's just cheating a little girl, and it's easy to catch. End of this chapter. Chapter 131. Sea King is 5 months old. Duke suddenly noticed a small figure and was surprised. Hey, why is Lao Wan's daughter here? Indeed, upon closer inspection, he confirmed it was Lao Wan's daughter, Nina. Is she entrusted to us? He asked, puzzled. No, she isn't staying with us. She was entrusted to Charles and just came here to play, Diana explained. That's fine, but why? Duke wondered aloud. Karazhan was becoming more crowded, and he didn't want it to turn into a nursery for Charles. He was particularly impatient about raising children, especially other people's children. Lao Wan was ruthless enough to abandon his daughter without worrying about her being taken away. Although Charles gave part of the credit to Magneto, and the government revoked the arrest order, Magneto is still very afraid. He has to hide in Tibet and cannot show himself in the human world. He is worried about his daughter's education, so he entrusted her to Charles, Diana elaborated. Oh, I see, Duke nodded, understanding the situation. He knew Magneto would go on to live a reclusive life on an isolated island, almost cut off from the world. As a father, although reluctant, he wouldn't let his daughter live a savage life like him. He didn't want her to grow up illiterate, so he left her with Charles. To ensure Nina wouldn't be afraid, he also left his wife, Magda, at the X-Academy. Lao Wan was merciful in his own way, which was consistent with his temperament. You don't have to worry about Nina. She not only has a mother, but also an elder brother, Diana reassured. Who? Duke was stunned. An elder brother? Who could it be? In Avengers 2? No. Could it be the Quicksilver that Uncle Wolf came back to look for? His name is Quicksilver, and he is also a new member of the X-Men, Diana clarified. Duke thought for a moment, and an image of the X-Men version of Quicksilver appeared in his mind. Is that him? Yes, Diana confirmed. Oh, by the way, did the incident in 83 break out? Duke asked, realizing the timeline. Yes, we found Gu Yi, and she intervened, Diana replied. She intervened, that old-fashioned sorcerer? Duke laughed, finding it hard to believe. He thought it would be a good idea to ask Gu Yi for a portal. Who would have thought? Nina was very happy in Karazhan, playing with Uncle Wolf's daughter, Laura. That's Logan's daughter, Laura, Diana pointed out. Uncle Wolf already has a daughter? With whom, Kara? Duke was surprised. Who else do you think it could be? Diana rolled her eyes. Now, Nina had another friend, Jennifer. The two were happier together, one able to communicate with animals and the other with insects. Little Nina looked a bit like Nina Dobrev now. Duke wondered if she would look more like her when she grew up. In 1986, after half a year of training, Jennifer Calvino finally became Duke's apprentice and acquired druid skills. Duke now had 3 apprentices, Samir, Leon, and Jennifer. Big Hugh Bay, Maine. A blonde woman with a protruding belly and the radiance of motherhood was reading the morning newspaper. Judging by the size of her belly, she appeared to be about 5 months pregnant. Today's breakfast is bacon and eggs? The woman put down the newspaper, stood up, and went to the dining table. "I have to give you some nutrition," a burly man said, quickly putting down a plate and carefully helping the woman to sit down. "I haven't reached the point of needing support. I can walk around by myself," the woman said, lightly patting the man. However, she didn't refuse his help and smiled happily, enjoying the care. "Come on, try it. My cooking skills shouldn't have declined," the man encouraged. "Very delicious," the woman said after taking a bite. "Woof woof," a dog barked nearby. "I understand. You won't be left out," the man laughed, throwing a meaty bone to the dog. The dog picked it up and ran to a corner to enjoy its treat. Single dogs couldn't stand the couple's affection all day long. "By the way, what were you reading just now?" the man asked. "Mutants," the woman replied, holding up the newspaper. "The Congress has passed a resolution to formalize an island for mutants to live on," the woman said. "Oh, is that so?" The man didn't seem to care much. The issue of mutants felt too distant from his life as a lighthouse keeper. "What do you think of that Magneto King, Eric?" the woman asked with interest. "Magneto?" The man took a few bites of bacon and wiped his mouth. "Whether he is good or bad, it's hard to say, but I think he is at least a competent leader for their race. As far as standpoints go, there is no absolute good or bad. You agree with him?" The woman seemed a little angry. The man froze for a moment. He didn't know why, but he must have annoyed his wife. Quickly, he tried to make amends. "Of course I don't agree. I'm a human being, but I can understand his struggle for his race, although his methods may be misguided. He made a mistake in saying that mutants and humans are not two races, but one." This statement was not wrong. Mutants and humans are the same race. If Magneto really destroyed the human world, then he would end up like the Inhumans on the moon. Human beings are the bone marrow of mutants. Without bone marrow to produce blood, the blood of mutants would gradually wither. Is it necessary to rely on the current mutants to reproduce? What if the rest of the people can't awaken? At any rate, the Inhumans on the moon can still be awakened through rituals, and those who fail to awaken become lower-class people, then are thrown out to mine. As the number of ordinary humans increased, this contradiction broke out. As for mutants, they don't have an awakening ceremony. They can only awaken after experiencing a major stimulus, and it's not 100% guaranteed. A mutant's awakening isn't qualitative at all. Therefore, if Magneto really destroyed the human world, it would be equivalent to obliterating the mutant race. Hearing the man's words, the woman finally smiled. "Huh." The man breathed a sigh of relief. "That was close, so close. By the way, what happened to my wife? If Duke were here, he would definitely laugh a few times. You just poked your wife's pain point so specifically." Well, Duke was indeed there too. Standing outside the window was a fat crow. A raven. The pregnant blonde with the face of Nicole Kidman. Wait, she is Aquaman, Arthur's mother, Atlantis Queen Atlanta. And what she was carrying in her stomach, if nothing unexpected happened, would be the bearded Arthur in the future. The guy who took Mara away. That man was Arthur's father, Tom the lighthouse keeper. Why did you hit the pain point? Because her legal marriage partner, King Orvax, is a militant keen to attack the surface world to protect the people of the sea. Unfortunately, he never found the right opportunity, and Atlanta naturally hated and despised this kind of behavior, so she fled. King Orvax of the people of the sea is the Magneto of the mutant race. Of course, she was angry when she heard that her husband supported Magneto. Wouldn't that be the same as supporting Orvax? End of this chapter. Chapter 132, The Prophet. Not only did Owok's future son, Orm, officially take over his father's banner and launch an attack on the surface world, but unfortunately, he was blocked by Arthur, who followed. Orm had been brainwashed by his father into believing that the sea and the land were two separate worlds. Isn't this similar to Magneto's ideology? Atlanta was deeply worried because she saw the possible future of Atlantis through the lens of Magneto and the mutants. It was a terrifying future. Wow, the dog sensed something was wrong and barked at the glass window. Hey! At this moment, Tom also noticed the crow on the windowsill and stood up angrily. In most cultures, except for those with special beliefs, people generally react negatively to crows because they symbolize bad luck, death, and other ominous things. Given that his wife was pregnant, Tom was particularly agitated. He grabbed a bat and opened the window, but the crow didn't fly away. Instead, it dodged every swing of the bat with surprising agility. After 2 minutes of futile attempts, Tom was out of breath. Atlanta also noticed something unusual about the crow. It was too fat and unafraid of people. It dodged every swing while keeping its small black eyes fixed on her. Tom! She quickly grabbed her husband and pulled him back. What the hell are you? Dear Queen of Atlantis, Ms. Atlanta, the Lord of Karazhan, Duke salutes you, the crow spoke. You can talk? Tom was startled, collapsing onto the sofa, nearly fainting. The dog, now terrified, hid in a corner with its tail between its legs. Although Atlanta was well informed, she was momentarily confused. She had never heard of a talking crow. Just as she was about to speak, the fat crow jumped into the house, scattering a few black feathers. In an instant, the crow transformed into a man with black shoulders and black feathers, dressed in a black robe. It was Duke, who had taken on the appearance of Medivh from Warcraft, making a prophecy to the orcs. You are the owner of Karazhan? Atlanta asked. She had read about the tower in newspapers and knew it appeared sporadically, often coinciding with chaotic events. It wasn't that Karazhan brought disaster, but rather that it prevented it. I am. Please call me Prophet, Duke replied. Prophet? Yes, I saw the mother box in the future. To prove his credibility, Duke allowed his arcane energy to flow freely. His eyes glowed a bright purple, and his pupils turned fiery white. Atlanta felt the terrifying pressure and was even more shocked. How did you know about the mother box? What happened to the mother box? The mother box was divided into 3 parts, one held by Atlantis, one by the Amazons, and one buried by an ancient human king. Only direct descendants knew of its existence, and even they might not be fully aware. In the prophecy, I saw the mother box causing a disaster in the future, Duke explained. After a brief moment of panic, Atlanta calmed down. Are you here to make a prophecy? Why should I believe you? She knew that prophets existed not only in the human world, but also in places like Atlantis and Amazon. It doesn't matter whether you believe me or not. I'm just here to verify the prophecy. Sure enough, the scene I saw in the vision is unfolding here, Duke said. Atlanta panicked again. I am also in the prophecy? The future has something to do with me? I never said that. Then what do you mean? There is a picture of you appearing in the prophecy. You may not be directly related, maybe indirectly, or maybe. Maybe. Duke pointed at Atlanta's belly. Was he referring to the child she was pregnant with? A man may be weak, but a father is strong. When it came to his own child, Tom immediately jumped up from the sofa, his legs still trembling slightly. Can you say that again? Duke paid no attention to him, considering him just a passerby. He continued to focus on Atlanta. You appeared in the prophecy, so it may also be referring to the mother box incident involving you or someone close to you. In my opinion, 9 times out of 10, he is involved too. You mean my child stole the mother box? Atlanta was stunned. I didn't say that. Duke maintained an air of mystery as a prophet, though he felt like yelling, damn it, what a crazy idea. Then what do you mean? An event more dangerous than the mother box incident. What? Atlanta's heart skipped a beat. What could be more dangerous than the mother box incident? Atlantis will launch a war against the surface world. Boom. Atlanta couldn't stand any longer and collapsed into a chair. If she weren't beyond human physique, she might have had a miscarriage right then, and Neptune would have died young. Nah, what's wrong with you? Don't scare me. Tom nervously stepped forward to check on her. What you said, is it true? Atlanta asked, trembling. She believed the second prophecy more than the first, because Owak had always been committed to crusading against the humans on the surface. Compared to the distant mother box problem, this seemed more imminent. Of course it is true. If the prophecy is correct, King Nereus of the Zerbal Kingdom will have a daughter in a few years. She will be called Mera. Will you believe it then? Duke said, transforming back into a fat crow, flapping his wings and flying into the sky. His final words floated down from a distance. Remember, if the people of the sea want stability, they need to unite with the surface world. Without the help of the surface forces, this war will eventually happen. It's just a matter of time. Tell Mera that she has a fiancé on the surface waiting for her. Atlanta still had questions, but Duke had already flown away. She finally sat back on the sofa weakly. End of this chapter. Chapter 133. Xiao Guliang, you have a fat fiance. For the needs of the plot arrangement, Justice League will appear in advance, and the timeline will be moved forward. March 1986. Maine, Big Hugh Bay Lighthouse. Neptune's parents met in 1985. Given that Atlanta's belly wasn't very big when it snowed, Neptune was born in 1986. Sure enough, Duke saw Queen Atlanta of Atlantis at the lighthouse, visibly pregnant with King Arthur of the Sea. This confirmed Duke's conjecture. Of course, he wasn't there for Aquaman, but for Mera. She was a perfect woman, equally stunning in both appearance and figure. She was even more beautiful than many heroines. While many heroines have a 360-degree beauty, Mera's figure was unparalleled. Mera had a face identical to Amber Heard, who ranked first among the top 10 most perfect faces of Hollywood actresses. According to De Silva, the head of a famous British medical and aesthetic institution, Amber's overall face perfection was 91.85%, fitting the golden ratio of the ancient Greeks. She also had the most beautiful nose in the world, with a perfection rate of 99.7%. She was like a blonde stunner, reminiscent of Marilyn Monroe, but with a touch more sexiness and playfulness. Her facial features were somewhat similar to Scarlett Johansson's, but she lacked the mature, strong, and aggressive aura of the widow sister. Her eyes seemed to whisper seduction, as if she was born to captivate. For such a woman, it was worth taking risks. What risk? The heroine fighting with Mera. Just like in the comics, after the big DC event Flashpoint, the world was in chaos. Mera took the initiative to challenge Diana, the Wonder Woman of Paradise Island. Diana, the Queen of the Amazons, was not one to back down, so the two fought. However, Mera's strength was no match for Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman beheaded Mera in just a few moves. After the public display, Mera's body was sent back to Atlantis, and her headdress was worn by Wonder Woman. During that time, Wonder Woman not only killed Mera, but also her lover Steve and Shazam. Eventually, because the Flash resolved the Flashpoint crisis, the DC Universe restarted, ushering in a new era. The previous battle between Wonder Woman and Mera was erased from history, and the two reconciled. Although they weren't very familiar with each other after losing their memories, they gradually recognized each other as best friends and girlfriends through their battles together. If Mera and Duke were to get back together, there would likely be a big battle. But so what? There must be a way to overcome any obstacle. The key now was to rush to the demigod realm. Although he was awakened this time and failed to ascend to the next level, Duke had found his divine attribute, power of rules. On a grand scale, humans have their own rules, the world has its own rules, magic has its own rules, space, time, eternity, all have their own rules. On a smaller scale, flames have the rules of flames, and water has the rules of water. This becomes a new rule when fire burns in water. Spell is a power of rules. The mage's skill Frost Nova is actually a rule. It is not simply frozen by ice, but with the power of space. This is why the heroine didn't break it open immediately. His magic was too much, too complex, too chaotic. He needed to find the power of rules to integrate all kinds of chaos, and then break through to the demigod realm. After becoming a demigod, Duke would no longer fear the heroine fighting with Mera. After disappearing in Karazhan, Duke fell into a deep sleep again, and several major events happened. The first thing, a few years after Atlanta gave birth to. Chapter: Prophecies and Fates. See King Arthur, the people of Oak found her, and after a fierce battle, they finally chose to leave. She kept thinking of Duke's prophecy in her heart. Even when being tormented by Oak, she was absent-minded. Would there really be a Mother Box incident? Would there really be a war with the surface world? Not long after the birth of Orm, the Queen of King Nereus of the Zeeble Kingdom also gave birth to a daughter, just a month and a half later. When she heard that the little princess was named Mera, she panicked. A few years later, the Ocean War began. King Nereus resolutely went to the battlefield, and she took in Mera, becoming her foster mother. Little one, do you know that the prophet told me you have a fiancé in the earthly world? Atlanta said. The world on the ground? Is it the humans on the ground? Asked the young, red-haired Mera weakly. Yes. Did the prophet say what he looks like? He is very fat. Atlanta couldn't help laughing when she thought of the fat crow that Duke had turned into. How fat is he? Mara asked, feeling disheartened at the thought of having a fat fiancé. Fatter than a fat crow. What is a crow? The crow is... Chapter: The Passing of Howard Stark. Howard Stark passed away in 1999, unable to cross into the new millennium. It is worth mentioning that Howard Stark's soul belongs to Karazhan. He will not go to heaven or hell. He is with Karazhan. He survived Bucky's attack in 1991, but died in 1999 because of the jade pendant Duke had given him years earlier to protect him. He visited Karazhan for the last time before he died, and the woman there asked him if he would extend his life. He saved the bottle of potion that was left for him before Duke fell asleep again. Howard's answer remained the same. I don't want the black-haired person to give the white-haired person. He felt that he had lived enough, and there was no need to waste taxpayers' money anymore. Although he wanted to go to hell, under the influence of the jade pendant, his soul still went to Karazhan. He became a glorious soul attendant and regained his youthful appearance. When he first arrived in Karazhan, he was a little surprised and at a loss. Duke had tampered with the jade tablet long ago, just like the ruby that was given to Sean. Unfortunately, Sean gave the ruby to Jennifer. When Howard saw Dr. Erskine, he burst out laughing. This could be considered the reunion of old friends, right? But one was alive and one was dead. The older lived, the younger died. Oh, a little ironic. Chapter: The Fiend in New York 2007. On this day, a very strange creature appeared in the city of New York. They had 2 pairs of wings, red eyes, withered and rotten skin, and they looked very much like a fly man. It's a fiend, a nightmarish creature that feeds on fear, Diana said as they walked. Yes, I may have met one, and we don't get along very well, replied Batman, who was walking beside her. The two walked along the river. Duke, green, green, green. Green your sister, not green. There is probably one more chapter. Go to sleep, wake up, and upload the code words. Forgive the abbot for my slow hands. Chapter 134. We will meet soon. Harmony after great fear is not easy to come by. It was truly an era of heroes, Diana sighed. I don't think it's possible for us to get back to our old team, Batman said. The people of Atlantis were forced to stay at the bottom of the sea, while the Amazons hid on isolated islands and never left. I will not rely on human tribes. But now you have new allies, don't you? Diana laughed. Yeah, there are the X-Men and your Karazhan team, Batman replied. Then, as if struck by a sudden thought, he asked, Where is Duke? Is he still sleeping? It should be, right? Diana rubbed her temples, looking a bit tired. Batman was a little stunned. It should be. Diana was silent for a moment, then raised her eyes to the calm lake in the distance. Actually, I've seen him before. Ah? Batman was taken aback. Is he awake? But Karazhan didn't show up. Everyone knows that when Karazhan appears, it means Duke has woken up. No, Diana shook her head. He didn't wake up. It's just that I've seen him. Not just me, but you too. We've all seen him, the high temperature a while ago and the sudden snowfall. There are figures that appear here and there and disappear in the blink of an eye. Batman was confused. You mean it was caused by Duke? Are you sure? It's the end of autumn now. Although the temperature is still very high sometimes, it suddenly rises to 40 degrees, and it only lasted less than 10 minutes before returning to normal temperature. Then the next day, the temperature suddenly dropped, and it snowed. As for the meteorological department, they still have no clue. He had also heard about those figures that suddenly appeared and disappeared, but he couldn't judge the truth because there was no evidence. Never thought that it was Duke who caused the trouble. Basically certain. Didn't he go to the Star Realm? Why can he still... The Star Realm is a special existence, and no one knows what it is. But I guess he should be waking up soon, Diana said. Batman breathed a sigh of relief. If that's the case, that's great. We still need his strength to deal with Steppenwolf. Hope he can hurry. How long do we have left? A few days at most. Steppenwolf's mistake last time was to attack us. He wanted to make the Earth surrender before destroying us. This time his purpose is just to seize the mother box. Batman suddenly took out his smartphone. I received the address of a new team member, Barry Allen. Batman actually uses Samsung instead of Apple. Is it sponsored? And the other one, Victor Stone? I hope you can find him, Batman said. Diana nodded. We are asking strangers to risk their lives. Yeah, we don't have much choice, but the X-Men sighed. They're just a college for the time being, Diana sighed. Although the bald professor still listened to Duke's advice, informed Jean Grey that her biological father was still alive, and resolved this potential crisis in time, he still went on the old road and made many mistakes. Although Jean Grey did not sacrifice again, and Mystique Raven was not killed, there was still a shock in the X Academy, which caused a serious loss of vitality. Now Professor Charles has chosen to retire like at the end of Dark Phoenix. The new headmaster did not fall on the head of the blue furball Hank, but Raven. After Raven came to power, she made a series of changes. She no longer acted as a babysitter for humans without hesitation like Charles did, but arranged the students in the school to the bottom of society. Starting with a huge crowd base and working around them, such as assisting police detectives in solving cases and arresting criminals, and taking on jobs with low safety factors. Things like going to space should be avoided if possible. Now the X-Men has indeed become the X Academy, an academy that actually teaches mutants. Similarly, they are still assisting the government, and the grading system was implemented to manage the students' abilities effectively. Teams were divided based on their comprehensive skills and strength levels, and then assigned tasks according to the difficulty of the events. If a task exceeded their capabilities, the X-Men had the option to refuse. Currently, X Academy is barely operational, making it challenging for them to participate in this mission. Forget it. Let's not talk about them. At the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean, in Atlantis, the temple where the Mother Box was stored suddenly vibrated. Steppenwolf had struck. Mera, the former Queen of the Sea who was guarding the temple, was caught off guard. The waters collapsed, creating a waterless zone. Steppenwolf, unable to react in time, slammed down heavily. In the original plot, Mera would have been thrown onto the ruins by Steppenwolf and defeated in just 2 hits, highlighting her vulnerability during her skill cooldown. She was no match for Diana. But now, things had changed. As Steppenwolf swung his flaming axe and rushed towards Mera, 3 streams of water suddenly appeared out of thin air, attacking Steppenwolf like electric, poisonous dragon drills. The water was so fierce that Steppenwolf couldn't dodge in time and was pushed far away, his armor nearly shattered. Who? Mera looked back warily. The seawater gradually gathered, forming a human figure composed of high-concentration water. It was indistinct. At that moment, Neptune arrived. The battle between the 2 muscular men began. However, Neptune was not a match for Steppenwolf and was defeated after a few rounds. Consequently, the Mother Box guarded by Atlantis was taken away. Who the hell are you? Mera once again created a waterless space, enclosing the Waterman and Neptune. Arthur, the Neptune, also looked at the strange Waterman in front of him. We're meeting for the first time. I am your fiancé, the Waterman smiled. It was Duke. What, you are? Mera's eyes widened in surprise. Why didn't Atlana tell you? She did mention it, but I didn't expect our first meeting to be under such circumstances. Mera felt disillusioned. Although her adoptive mother had said her fiancé was fatter than a fat crow, he was still human. What was this Waterman? Atlana, have you seen her? Sea King Arthur asked urgently. Oh, it's Arthur. Yes, I've seen you. You've seen me? Why don't I remember? When you were a 5-month-old fetus. Sea King Arthur. Oh, by the way, this is not my body, just my spirit. My body is still sleeping. We will meet again soon. As he spoke, the Waterman gradually dispersed into water molecules and disappeared bit by bit. Hey, wait a minute. Thank you for the monthly ticket rewards. There are too many to thank individually, so I express my gratitude collectively here. By the way, Superman lives in Metropolis. I thought about it and decided to release this city. We can't just throw everything into New York. End of this chapter. Chapter 135. When I woke up, the sky and the earth changed color. Cyborg's secret base. Bruce, no, you have no idea what kind of energy you're dealing with, Diana objected vehemently, opposing the resurrection of Superman. Superman is dead. Who knows what might come back? Even if there's a chance, Bruce began. So what? Are we going to raise a monster, like Luthor did? Diana interrupted. We have technology that Luthor doesn't have, Bruce countered. Superman is dead, and though we all wish he wasn't, We don't know what state he's in. I know we can't bring him back, but there's technology beyond our limits, Diana insisted. You're taking a risk. You're risking their lives and the lives of countless others, Diana continued to argue. We don't have time to take it slow. Duke has never woken up. Yes, there are risks, but it has to be done, Bruce replied. Why? Because of your guilt? Wonder Woman and Batman's argument grew more heated. Bruce, I was there. You didn't kill Superman, Diana exclaimed. Okay, but his resurrection scene better be like, great, he's resurrected, not like Pet Sematary, Flash interjected. Aquaman sided with Diana. When you die, you lose something, and Superman is no exception. Maybe it's not his reason, but his soul. I'll think of a contingency plan, Batman said. If you're the first thing he sees when he wakes up, you really need a contingency plan, Diana retorted, glancing at the old man before turning and leaving. I hope you guys know what you're doing. After some twists and turns, Superman was resurrected as promised. He leaped to his own monument, looking confused and lost. Who am I? Where am I from? What am I here to do? Questions swirled in his mind. The four-person team followed closely. Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Cyborg, and Flash. He's resurrected? Diana couldn't believe it. Aquaman suddenly raised an eyebrow. He's not quite right. Cyborg added, he's scanning us. What? Diana asked. Arthur, relax. Your adrenaline is racing, Cyborg said quickly. Because something is wrong with him, Aquaman replied. Then, should we bow to him or show him our belly? Flash continued to joke. Suddenly, Cyborg's armor defense mechanism activated uncontrollably, and a shell blasted out, officially kicking off the prelude to the Superman vs. four-member team battle. Kal-El, no, Diana yelled, but Superman had lost his mind. He forgot who he was and only knew self-protection. Whoever attacked him was his enemy. Immediately, he shot his death eyes at Cyborg. Cyborg thought, hey, isn't this my move? Are you pirating me? He couldn't bear it. Although his armor shield blocked the death eyes, he was still blasted away. He's not conscious. He doesn't know who he is. Diana yelled, Arthur, we have to get him under control. Aquaman made a big leap but was blown away by Superman's punch. Wonder Woman rushed forward but was also punched away. Superman's super strength, super defense, super speed, super healing power, super flight, super hearing, vision, and super breathing made him nearly invincible. Wonder Woman tried to use the lasso of truth to awaken Superman's consciousness, but Superman instinctively thought she wanted to control him. He exerted all his strength and pulled her over. Neptune and Cyborg both pounced on him, trying their best, but they couldn't push Superman even a little bit. Flash attempted a high-speed sneak attack, but was beaten up by Superman and knocked into the air. At this moment, Batman, who had prepared emergency measures, appeared, which once again aroused Superman's wrath. I know you, Superman growled. Please, please don't force me to do this, Batman pleaded. Wonder Woman landed between them, slowly clenching her long sword tightly. Although Diana was a demigod, she was no match for Superman. He hit her on the ground, causing the earth to crack. Just as Superman continued to walk towards Batman, the world changed color. A violent pressure hit, and Superman's hairs stood on end. In an instant, the atmosphere shifted dramatically. In the northeastern sky, a beam of purple light shot straight up, piercing through the clouds and illuminating the metropolis below. The purple beam broke through the sky, and everyone engaged in fierce battles paused, their attention drawn to the spectacle. That's, Diana murmured, her gaze fixed on the direction of Karazhan. Could it be that Duke had awakened? She had no time to ponder further, as the world around her began to change. Suddenly, purple cracks appeared in the blue sky, as if an invisible hand was tearing it apart. The cracks expanded slowly but steadily in all directions. In New York, the sensation was most profound. People looked up in astonishment, and chaos erupted on the ground. The sky seemed on the verge of collapsing. The rift widened, spreading from New York to the metropolis. Even Superman was taken aback by the dramatic shift in the world's color. Everyone stared blankly at the sky, their minds blank, while the sounds of fear and panic filled the air. A sense of powerlessness gripped their hearts. This, Diana exclaimed, snapping out of her initial joy at Duke's awakening. Could this be the advancement to the level of a demigod? Was the ascension of a magician truly this terrifying? Yet this was not the most frightening part. The crack in the sky continued to spread rapidly, finally halting after half an hour. The affected area was vast, stretching from Ottawa in the north to Virginia in the south, from Lake Erie in the west to the Atlantic Ocean in the east. Nearly the entire northeastern United States was impacted. Countless people began to cry and hug each other, believing the end of the world had come. But the most bizarre phenomenon was yet to come. In the city, a spectacle unfolded. Half of it was drenched in rain, while the other half sweltered in oppressive heat. One side was cold and snowy, while the other was besieged by lightning, thunder, and dark clouds. The divisions were clear and vertical. Rain fell vertically, snow descended vertically, and thunder struck vertically. If you stood in the middle of 3rd Avenue, your left side would be soaked by rain, while your right side would be drenched in sweat from the heat. On Boulevard Amsterdam, the right half of your body would be covered in snow, while the left half would be soaked by rain. It was a wonder to behold. Steppenwolf, hiding in the shadows, was bewildered. "What the hell is this?" he muttered. Far away in Carmitage, Guyi also turned her attention to New York. "This is the advancement to a demigod," she observed. In the distant starry sky, in Asgard, one of the 9 realms, Odin, who had been sleeping, suddenly opened his eyes and looked towards the lower realm. At this moment, Duke stood slowly in the purple beam of light atop Karazhan's spire. He felt the rules of the world and smiled slightly. "When I wake up, the world changes color," he declared. End of this chapter. Chapter 136, Duke versus Superman. The wonders of heaven and earth disappeared almost simultaneously. The rainstorm ceased, the blizzard halted, the thunder quieted, and the oppressive heat of the dog days cooled in an instant. It all seemed like a hallucination. If it weren't for the large pools of rainwater on the ground, the foot-deep snow, and the roofs, windows, and public facilities destroyed by lightning, it would have felt like a dream. Diana suddenly frowned. "No, Kal-El." Before she could finish speaking, Superman was blasted into a pool by a sudden attack. The entire pool instantly froze. A figure appeared mysteriously in Superman's previous position. "Wow," Aquaman exclaimed in shock. "Another super powerful one has arrived. I feel." The Flash was still talking when the old man Batman, who had been relieved, became nervous again. "Duke, hold your words and kiss me." Duke suddenly flashed to Diana's side and hugged her. "Heh, it must have been said by a woman, right?" Diana was a little dumbfounded, but still offered her kiss. After a long moment, they separated. "He won't die, will he?" she asked. "How is it possible? He is Superman after all. I just sealed him in the ice with strength. If he can't hold on for too long, he should break out soon." Sure enough, a fist shattered the solid ice, and Superman took off into the air. "Who are you?" Superman demanded. "Me? I'm Diana's husband. I have to settle the matter with you about beating my wife." Duke chuckled. "Thank you for the talent points contributed by Superman. Thank you for the innate abilities, superpower, and super defense contributed by Superman. Am I also a full-time melee mage now?" "Wife, get out of the way first. Wait for your husband to teach this guy called Superman a lesson." Duke gently pushed Diana away, and she floated far from the battlefield. Although he talked and laughed happily on the surface, Duke was still a little surprised in his heart. This Superman is indeed a Superman. The frost nova that joined the space rules actually only trapped Superman for 1 minute? You must know that when he was in the legendary realm, he had competed with Diana, who was also legendary, and she couldn't break free. And the space power at that time was not perfect. However, now that he has mastered the power of rules, he added space rules to the ice, but it only trapped Superman for 1 minute before being shattered by his fists. It can break the rules of space. It should be said that he is indeed a Superman. "Teach me?" Superman sneered. "I always thought that you had no blood." Duke pointed to the blood at the corner of Superman's mouth, indicating that the lesson had already begun. At this time, Superman was very indifferent. He didn't talk much, and his eyes became hot, shooting out red death rays. However, in the same way, a death ray rushed diagonally across, intercepting Superman's attack. Everyone present was stunned. "Don't worry, it's not Cyclops from the X-Men that's arriving. It's, another Superman? Am I awake or am I dreaming? I should be dreaming. I should," the Flash continued to babble. Aquaman, Cyborg, and others were also a little dumbfounded. What was this? Only Diana understood that this was one of Duke's magical abilities. The demigod Duke manifested a demigod Superman, slightly weaker, and then it was demigod Superman versus the real Superman. No matter how you look at it, Superman was in the rhythm of being tortured. The Superman in the air was also a little stunned. He continued to be confused. Who is this person, and why does he look like me? But he soon realized that it was Duke who had created the duplicate. Just kill. Superman, who teleported towards Duke, was stopped by the fake Superman again, and the two fought fiercely. Superman also understood that if he wanted to beat Duke, he must first defeat this fake version of himself. However, would Duke give him a chance? The answer was, of course, no. Duke instantly turned into a fireman, just like the Human Torch in the Fantastic Four. Chapter 4, of course, he is not a mutant, but a mage with the skill Burning. He wrapped himself in flames and then cast Pyroblast. 3 large flaming stones shot towards Superman. However, Superman dodged them effortlessly, countering with a series of powerful punches that exploded on impact. Hey, yes, but you forgot something, Duke taunted. Boom! Superman blasted away Duke's Pyroblast, but couldn't avoid the fake Superman's dead-eye stare. He was hit in the waist and sent flying again. This was exactly what Duke had been waiting for. He rushed over with a flash and encased his arms in ice, hammering down on Superman's face. Punch to the left, punch to the right, punch to the left, punch to the right. Superman was momentarily disoriented. Who am I? Where am I? Is there anyone on Earth stronger than me in terms of power? After a few more punches, Superman finally reacted and grabbed Duke's arm with both hands. Where are you running now? Superman's eyes instantly became hot. Heh! Duke chuckled. Dragon's breath! Before Superman could release his heat vision, Duke opened his mouth, and a dragon head composed of flames formed. It sprayed a large amount of fire, affecting everything within a conical range. The dragon's breath also had a confuse effect, making Superman dizzy before he could fire his heat vision. Maybe Superman doesn't know the saying, the villain dies because of talking too much? Well, Superman is indeed a villain now. Immediately afterward, a piercing cold air gushed out, freezing Superman in an instant. In the blink of an eye, Superman was frozen with his mouth open. The ice spread rapidly, freezing the entire square almost instantly. Ice Age! Diana, Aquaman, Cyborg, and Flash quickly jumped up to avoid being affected and frozen. Duke stood up slowly and smiled into the distance. Honey, if I hit his neck now, can I hammer his head off? Duke asked. Diana flashed over, grabbed Duke's hand, and said seriously, Okay, that's enough. He is Kal-El after all. I beat him just because I knew he was Kal-El. Who told him to beat my wife? I'll beat whoever beats my wife, Duke declared, turning into a wife-loving madman. Damn, you still have an affair with Superman in the comics. Not only Superman, but also the old man in Black Bat. Brother, shouldn't he be green? Crack! The ice began to break. Not giving up yet? Duke quickly embraced Diana with one hand, flashed back, and then cast Glacier Eruption. On the square that had turned into ice, countless ice dragons suddenly sprang up. The ferocious ice dragons were more than 100 meters long and nearly 10 meters in diameter. The ice dragons rolled, roared, and rushed towards Superman. Once the dragon kissed it, it was about to bite down fiercely. Crack! The ice that trapped Superman was still shaken away. Looking at the charging ice dragons, Superman quickly put his hands on his upper and lower jaws and then used his death eyes. Caracalla, the ice dragon, exploded. But there were too many ice dragons, and dozens more danced in unison across the entire square. One exploded, and dozens more were waiting. The ice dragons chased after Superman, surrounding him. And of course, the fake Superman was on the sidelines, ready to strike. End of this chapter. Chapter 137, You Have to Thank Me. Hey, do you feel that Superman is much weaker? Flash asked. Is there? Aquaman was a little confused. I only know that this guy named Duke is very strong. Steelbone was taken aback for a moment. The one-eyed red light flashed a few times quickly, and he frowned. There is a strange force that is restricting Superman. Duke glanced at Steelbone. As expected of a monster made by the Mother Box, he could perceive the power of rules. Although he still doesn't fully understand it, he can sense it. Aquaman continued to be confused. Really? I knew it. I knew it. You saw those ice dragons chasing Superman, right? Their speed seems to be the same. I don't know if it's my illusion. Flash exclaimed. He had touched the speed rules but couldn't fully understand or use them. However, he could feel that Superman was being speed limited. You must know that Superman was able to keep up with his speed when they were fighting just now, even faster than him. If it was an ordinary person, it would be impossible to see Superman's movements, but now Aquaman and Cyborg could also see it. This shows that the speed of the Ice Dragon is the same as that of Superman, or Superman's speed has been pulled down to the level of the Ice Dragon. What kind of amazing ability is this? If he guessed right, Superman in the middle of the fight didn't realize it at all. As an outsider, he sensed something was wrong. That's right. Duke gave Superman a speed limit. In fact, it is not a speed limit, but within the range, so that the speed of Ice Dragon and Superman is relatively consistent. Clark. A familiar voice awakened Superman's memory, and his movements stopped suddenly. An Ice Dragon bit down fiercely. Chap! Suddenly, a trace of blood appeared on his shoulder. Get off! Superman blasted the Ice Dragon with a punch and was about to take advantage of the victory and pursue it. Stop! Duke raised his hand, and the Ice Dragons immediately settled in midair. Clark, for the sake of your girlfriend coming, I will let you go this time. Next time you dare to hit my wife, I will blow your head off. That's right, he discovered that Superman's magic resistance is almost non-existent. And under the control field with the power of rules, Superman was beaten by him. From this point of view, he should not be Guyi's opponent. Of course, if Guyi can shorten the distance, it would be useless to be brought closer. By the way, he prefers to call Superman Clark. Carl always feels like calling the conspirator in Super Seminary. We can have a good fight in the future. Superman obviously didn't want to admit defeat in front of his girlfriend. Actually, you should thank me. Duke suddenly chuckled. Thank you? Superman frowned slightly. Of course. Duke raised his hand and waved at the fake Superman, and Clark's face changed into Lois Lane at a speed visible to the naked eye, which was Superman's girlfriend who came at this moment. Superman was furious. You! Lois Lane, who got out of the car, also covered her mouth subconsciously. Is that what she looks like? If I did this from the beginning, would you be able to do it? Duke laughed. Diana covered her forehead. It was a real shame to her. Hiss, this! Aquaman, Flash, and Cyborg also gasped in unison. Is this still human? What a villain. No, what a gentleman. Can things still work like this? Can't compare, can't compare. Superman gritted his teeth. If he couldn't do it, he definitely couldn't do it. This bastard. Duke smiled smugly. That's right, his character design itself is not a gentleman. When I want to cheat you, I will never show mercy. With a wave of his hand, the fake Superman turned into a phantom and gradually disappeared. Consider it a present. Duke waved his hand and threw out a bottle of red medicine. Clark subconsciously grabbed it in his hand. What is this? This is the medicine to restore youth. I believe it will be useful to you. Your girlfriend will need it. It's a gift for Louise. As for you, you hit my wife, so I hit you. Now we're even. Superman hesitated, about to crush the glass bottle. It's not her appearance that I like, he said. However, Louise, who had activated her speed rules, snatched it away. You don't understand women, Duke teased Superman, making a face at him. At that moment, Steppenwolf teleported in and took the mother box. What's that thing? It looked like a cockroach? Duke pretended not to understand. A member of the Dark Elite under Dark Lord Darkseid, Steppenwolf, Diana explained as she stepped forward. Oh, it's the villain of this episode? Why do I encounter a villain every time I wake up? Duke was annoyed. Because you are the villain's nemesis, Diana replied. Oh, you mean Superman is a villain? When did I say that? You mentioned Krypton, Duke retorted, but Diana rolled her eyes and ignored him. Okay, I just got back. I'm going to spend some time alone with Diana. Call me when you have a plan, Duke said, pointing to the Justice League team. He then picked up Diana and disappeared, returning to Karazhan. Superman also took his girlfriend back to his home in the small town, where the corn in the field was already waist-high. The four people left in the square looked at the ice dragon frozen in midair and then at each other. Is this staying here? The Flash asked. Should we go back to the base first? Aquaman suggested, indifferent to the ice sculptures. These ice dragons contain some kind of strange power, Cyborg noted. reaching out to touch one. Suddenly, the ice dragon came alive and roared, scaring him away. The ice dragon then turned into a phantom and disappeared, along with the ice on the ground. Amazing, Batman praised. All right, let's go back and confirm Steppenwolf's location. Meanwhile, Duke had returned to Karazhan and was spending time with Wonder Woman. After some time, Duke emerged and was startled by a transparent figure in front of him. "Say, you're trying to scare me to death, Howard." The transparent man was Howard Stark, Duke's eldest nephew. "If anyone should be scared, it's me," Howard Stark replied with a wry smile. "If I had known this would happen, I might as well have drunk that bottle of medicine. Now I'm stuck in this state, neither alive nor dead." "When did you die?" Duke asked. 1999. "Oh, just before the turn of the millennium," Duke sighed. "Yeah, just had to grit my teeth and hold on." "Well, it's not all bad. You've studied your whole life. Now you can study soul energy." "I don't study biology. Besides, does the soul even fall under biology?" "How should I know? I'm not a scientist," Duke said, rolling his eyes. "Master," Jennifer and Lion greeted, walking hand in hand. "Yeah," Duke smiled at his two beautiful apprentices. "Oh, we have a new guest." Jennifer, prepare to welcome him. "Yes, Master. P.S. Some people think the story is chaotic, with big events happening too fast and characters like Aquaman and Superman appearing suddenly. I want to advance. Aquaman. Should the heroine #1 come out after the alliance is over? Aquaman is ahead of Iron Man, so Justice League will appear before Aquaman. As for the timeline, if you don't understand it, that's okay. You don't need to worry about it. It's a fusion world. End of this chapter. Chapter 138. How dare you attack the son of Odin above the starry sky, in the head of the 9 realms, Asgard. "Father, you summoned me?" Thor, who had not yet cut his hair short, strode in with the confidence of a tiger. There was still a bit of blood on the hammer in his hand, indicating he had just returned from battle. "Go to another star field for me," Odin commanded. "Father, where do you want me to fight?" Thor's eyes burned with thunderous fighting intent. Midgard. Midgard? Thor was stunned. He knew it was the realm where humans lived, their homeland. The 9 realms, led by Asgard, included Vanaheim, the land of the Vanir gods, Alfheim, the land of the Light Elves, Svartalfheim, the land of the dwarves, Midgard, the world of humans, Jotunheim, the world of the ice giants, Helheim, the land of the dead, Niflheim, the realm of fog, and Muspelheim, the realm of fire. Among them, Midgard was the weakest. He knew about Midgard, but hadn't been there much. The last time was hundreds of years ago, and it was very backward then. He was being sent to such a place? "Father, does Midgard really need me? Can't you just send a general? Why use a bull's knife to kill a chicken?" Thor questioned. Loki, hiding in the distance, smirked. Did Thor just compare himself to a bull? How foolish. "Stupid! What do you know?" Odin slammed the Spear of Eternity and shouted, "I want you to go to Midgard to congratulate the birth of a new god." "What? A new god? Father, are you serious?" Thor was shocked. The weakest human world had given birth to a new god? This was more unbelievable than the destruction of Asgard. If someone told him Asgard was going to be destroyed and Midgard had a new god, he would believe the former. Similarly, Loki, who was hiding, was also in a daze. God and Protoss are two different concepts. Thor is called Thor, and Loki is called the god of lies, which he doesn't like. The people of Asgard are just Protoss, meaning people of the gods or servants who serve the gods. Only those who have the god attribute are called god. Therefore, although some heroes are very powerful, even surpassing gods, if they haven't found their own divine attributes, they are not gods. For example, Star-Lord is a god when he has power and immortal when he loses it. Gods can be demigods, legends, or even heroes, as long as they find their own divine attributes. They are gods. Conversely, even if your strength has reached a demigod level, you are still not a god. Duke's divine attribute is rule, so he should be called Rule God or Rule God King. It's unbelievable that the poor and weak Midgard could give birth to a new god. What could his divine attribute be? Go. Heimdall will send you there. Midgard is not as weak as you think. Don't embarrass me when you go down. Odin glared at him and waved his hand dismissively. Yes, father. Despite his reluctance, Thor accepted the order to go to the lower realm. Loki rolled his eyes and quietly followed. Odin sighed without leaving a trace. At this moment, Frigga appeared with light steps. Did you see it? She asked. Ah, Odin replied. Our son. Frigga smiled. Frigga, do you think fate can't be changed? Odin suddenly asked, seemingly out of context. What do you mean? Frigga inquired. It's nothing. Maybe it's a good thing. Ha ha. After laughing a few times, Odin got up and left the throne, leaving Queen Frigga alone, her eyes filled with contemplation. In front of the rainbow bridge, Heimdall maintained his usual stoic expression. You are here, he said. You saw it, Thor replied. I can always see you. What about the so-called new god? Thor asked. I can't see him. Thor chuckled, not taking Heimdall seriously. I'm curious, in the Nine Realms, is there a place that you, Heimdall, can't see? I'm not joking. I really can't see him. He blocks my gaze, Heimdall insisted. Thor's demeanor shifted, gripping Mjolnir tightly. Well, it looks like he's going to be a formidable opponent. Heimdall didn't say much more and directly opened the rainbow bridge leading to Midgard. Thor stepped in slowly. Thor, Heimdall called out. Huh? Thor turned his head before entering. The last one I couldn't see was over 2,000 years ago. He was your father, Odin, the Allfather. Thor frowned, turned his head, and entered the portal. Loki quietly followed him, and the rainbow bridge closed behind them. Heimdall closed his eyes slightly and whispered to himself, I told you, there are only two that I can't see. Odin didn't stop him, and neither did I. At the X-Men Academy, a group of mutant children were playing football on the lawn when suddenly a colorful beam of light descended from the sky, scorching a rune circle into the ground. The children scattered in shock. As the light dissipated, Thor stood in the middle. This is Midgard? Thor looked around, indifferent to the chaos he had caused. The people at X Academy, however, were not so indifferent. Who are you? Several mutants ran over, holding special pistols designed by the Academy for the guards. Thor narrowed his eyes, his expression contemptuous. You dare to threaten me, Thor, with such small weapons? He began to walk towards them. Gunshots rang out, but Thor was unharmed. The special pistols were no match for him, especially with his armor. How dare you attack the son of Odin? Thor roared, his arrogance evident. Surrender, mortals. You can't defeat the mighty Thor. With that, he raised Mjolnir, and a bolt of lightning struck down from the sky. End of this chapter. Chapter 139, An Extra Grandpa. Finally, the god of thunder faced a formidable enemy. Cyclops neutralized him with a laser shot. How dare you attack the great son of Odin? The god of thunder roared in anger. He keeps saying he's the son of Odin. Could he have descended from Asgard? Mystique Raven asked curiously. The gods of Asgard don't look very impressive, Beast Hank commented as he gradually transformed into a blue furball. Let me see how powerful this god really is. The god of thunder was a bit confused. What kind of monster are you? He asked. I've lived most of my life, and this is the first time I've seen something like you. Just as the two were about to clash, a melodious voice descended from the sky. Stop! A nightingale flew down slowly. From a distance, it looked very similar to a sparrow, but this nightingale was much larger, about 3 times the size of an ordinary one. Before it landed, it transformed into a beautiful figure in a white dress. With one hand, she cast a spell. Life Bloom. Green brilliance shone on the children, and their wounds healed visibly. The redness, swelling, and lightning burns gradually faded away. The two combatants stopped simultaneously. Are you a witch doctor? The god of thunder asked, looking her up and down. He found himself somewhat captivated by her. Thank you, Miss Calvino, Beast Hank said politely. This woman was so pure, so saintly. You're welcome, Mr. McCoy, Jennifer replied with a warm smile, as radiant as the spring sun. She exuded an undeniable charm and affinity. As a druid, she was nature's darling, the jewel of the forest, beloved by all. Oh, by the way, Mr. McCoy, Mr. Summers, and Miss Raven, please allow me to take this god of thunder away. He is my master's guest. The X-Men laughed at the term god of thunder. Of course, please feel free, Raven nodded. The god of thunder was a bit displeased. Hey, beautiful lady, I admit you're stunning, but please don't use insulting words. Otherwise, I don't mind challenging you. At this time, the god of thunder was still arrogant and didn't understand what love was. He just found Jennifer pleasing to the eye. Hey, who gave you permission to talk to Miss Calvino like that? Thug. A muscular guy with one brain cell. Irreverent. Dare to be rude to Miss Calvino, and I'll make sure you can't stand up. Instantly, the god of thunder was surrounded by anger. Ever since Jennifer received the druid inheritance, her age had been fixed at 15 years old. She had the allure of both a green apple and an overripe peach, creating a unique charm. Her pure and mature aura attracted countless men. Since transferring to New York, she had become the school's top beauty, with a support rate far exceeding that of other girls. Although she was now 36 years old, she still looked like a 15-year-old. She was the dream lover of many men in the X-Men, including Quicksilver and Nightcrawler. "Everyone, calm down," Jennifer said with a smile. She used Soothe to instantly remove the anger effect, then transformed back into a nightingale and flew into the distance. "Let's go, God of Thunder." The God of Thunder hesitated for a moment but eventually followed her. Although he was confident, he couldn't withstand the siege of so many people. Most importantly, he realized he had picked the wrong target. He had come to challenge the so-called new god, but it seemed he had made a mistake. If that was the case, then this fight was meaningless. He cursed Heimdall under his breath, vowing to give him a good hammering when he returned. How could the transmission be so off? Heimdall, on the other hand, was deeply troubled. It wasn't that he had transmitted incorrectly, but that Karajan's teleportation had malfunctioned. Thor had to teleport to a nearby location instead of directly arriving. Despite his usual arrogance, he couldn't ignore the strength of the man with laser eyes. He knew that in a prolonged fight, he might not necessarily win. Moreover, the woman standing next to the laser-eyed man exuded an aura of oppression that made him uneasy. His father was right. Midgard was indeed full of hidden talents. Soon, they arrived at the barrier outside Karazhan. Jennifer, now in her human form again, raised her hand and lightly patted the barrier. "Please, Hammer God. Miss Jennifer. Miss Jennifer, let me clarify once more. I am Thor, the son of the great father of the gods, Odin. I am not some hammer god." Thor was visibly annoyed. Even though Jennifer was attractive, she couldn't keep calling him that. Jennifer turned around and smiled. "That's what my master calls you. If you have any objections, take it up with him." "Your master is the new god, right?" "New god?" Jennifer paused, then shook her head. "I don't know what you mean by new god, but my master is the most powerful. He just told me that he has a guest and asked me to come pick you up." All right. Soon, Thor saw Duke. He seemed very young, but appearances could be deceiving. He might be hundreds of years old. "You are the new god?" "That's me." Seeing Thor in his arrogant phase, Duke couldn't help but chuckle. He remembered the amusing scene of Thor's face pressed against the glass when the doctor injected a sedative at the hospital. "I am Thor, the son of Odin. By the will of Odin, the great father of the gods, I come to congratulate the birth of the new god." As he spoke, Thor made a very intricate gesture, likely a special form of congratulations. "What did you just say? Father of the gods? Is Odin trying to claim my boss as his subordinate?" Samir interjected angrily. Odin, the Norse god from mythology, might be impressive, but Samir didn't care. The idea that his boss was now considered a new god and that Odin was trying to assert dominance was infuriating. It implied that Duke had suddenly gained a father figure in Odin, which Samir found unacceptable. "Are you insulting Odin?" Thor was furious, glaring at Samir. Duke waved his hand, signaling Samir to be quiet. "You came to congratulate me? Now that the congratulations are over, you can go back. Tell your father that I will visit when I have the time." With that, Duke pushed Thor out of Karazhan and forcibly opened the Rainbow Bridge using the power of the rules, sending Thor back to Asgard. End of this chapter. Chapter 140, Destroying Steppenwolf. P.S. You always say that my plot progresses fast, but it's not fast, so don't worry about it. DC doesn't have an accurate timeline, so this time is based on Marvel's, with DC interspersed in it. Because the second Wonder Woman movie came out, it was brought forward to 2008, which is when Iron Man 1 was released. So the Justice League was brought forward, and now it is 2007, not 2017. Thor was a little confused. He had just returned and wanted to ask what Hammer God meant. Heimdall was even more bewildered. The Rainbow Bridge had opened just like that? Regardless of the shocked expressions of the two in Asgard, Cyborg had already located Steppenwolf in the secret base. It was still the same old place. "In Pozharnov, northern Russia," Cyborg said. "It's a nuclear power plant. There was an accident 30 years ago, Batman added. There are still some people who want to move back, but it looks very desolate. Who would want to take root in such a place? Those who have been abandoned by the whole world, Aquaman said. How many hours do we have left? Flash asked. A few hours, Cyborg replied. Ordinary vehicles can't fly there. Batman sighed. At that moment, a portal appeared. Oh, where are you going to fly? Duke walked out slowly, followed by Diana and Logan, father and daughter. Little Laura, now 27 years old, had perfectly inherited her father's DNA and abilities, and was even better than him. All her functional indicators were stronger than her father's. This time, Logan had brought her out for experience. Usually, her mother, Carla, took care of her, and this was a great opportunity. Pozharnov, Northern Russia, Batman said. That Steppenwolf? Ah, simple. Leave it to me. Duke opened the portal in a hurry, and they could clearly see Pozharnov on the other side, gradually collapsing. It looked like hell. Is that a worm? It's so disgusting. Little Laura made a retching gesture. The tentacles of the energy body caused by the energy leakage of the mother box, Cyborg explained. Duke felt it was a bit like Shockwave's subordinate in Transformers, the driller mechanical worm. The group passed through, and Batman followed in a classic Batmobile. How? Duke asked. What? Everyone was a little stunned. They still wanted to ask Duke what to do. Our goal is actually the mother box, right? Duke didn't quite understand this thing. It felt similar to the cosmic cube, but it didn't seem to be exactly the same. Although both could open portals, the mother box seemed more like energy itself. Batman explained, the power of unity allows the three mother boxes to be precisely synchronized, and its energy continues to gather until it overflows. But if we can make each box have a little delay, even if the delay is 1 second, its energy will cascade out to form a closed loop, and then they will erode each other. It's as simple as that. Just separate them, and there will be no terrible consequences. Flash asked curiously. When the mother box is separated, it will still cause a large-scale energy shock. I must be there, but you have to find a way to evacuate quickly. Cyborg said. Diana interjected, we won't leave you behind. Well, now it's how to get in, Duke said. That tower should be a connection shield. Before Batman could finish speaking, Duke flew into the air with a whoosh. Get out of the way, I'm going to zoom in. At this time, the sky was dark, with red lava-like clouds tumbling, as if the sky was about to collapse. From time to time, white lightning flashed between the clouds, fleeting and explosive. Just as Duke lifted off, a white cloud suddenly appeared in the black-red sky and spread at great speed. In the fiery sky, an iceberg-like cloud suddenly appeared, hovering directly above the protective shield. For some reason, just looking at that cloud made me feel an intense, biting cold. A surge of coercion emanated from Duke, making everyone breathless and scattering them in all directions. Only then did I understand why they had been moved out of the way. Comet storm, Duke shouted. Countless massive meteorites, mixed with frosty air, crashed down from the sky. Each one was visually the size of an airplane. Everyone's mouths dropped open in shock. The protective shield couldn't withstand the assault. The falling frost comets exploded before even a wave of attacks could be launched. Immediately afterward, the comet storm blasted into the ruins created by Steppenwolf with the mother box, as if it were an unguarded territory. The impact force of the ultra-high-speed descent was terrifying. The tower was instantly smashed and exploded, and then the power of frost spread in all directions. Countless fly people were either crushed to death or frozen into ice sculptures, which then shattered into pieces. Steppenwolf, who was controlling the merger of the three mother boxes, was also sent flying by the fragments of the comet. The connected mother box was smashed open by the berserk force and exploded instantly. Steelbone was left bewildered, feeling that the mother box was finished. Although the mother box has the ability to open portals, it is essentially a super-technological object and does not belong to the universe level. Despite its impressive appearance, its energy essence still comes from technological attributes. In the face of the Infinity Stones, which represent the most primitive attributes of the universe, Duke thought it was insufficient. Compared to the Infinity Gems, which can directly grant users abilities, the Mother Box is more about changing and assisting. The Flash curled his lips and said, "I think we can go home, wash up, and sleep. He can handle it by himself. Why do we need to do so much? What do you think?" The rest of the team were still in shock, unable to process what had just happened. "Flash, go and kill those flymen. Don't let them escape," Duke commanded as he slowly landed. He then pushed forward with both hands, sealing the entire Pozarnov area in mirror space. "Go, they can't escape this range. Don't let any of them get away." After speaking, he opened a portal. "Who?" Enraged, Steppenwolf swung his flame axe and slashed at the white light curtain. He was still confused by the sudden attack. Seeing the enemy through the light curtain, he was, of course, very angry. This scene shocked everyone who had just wanted to go there, but then they were surprised to find that Steppenwolf could not break through the portal. The flame axe hit the portal, but it seemed like it hit a barrier. "There is a strange force that stopped Steppenwolf, but it didn't defend against us," Steelbone said. Duke smiled and simultaneously opened several portals, scattering them in all directions of Pozarnov. "Go, leave this to me." After everyone passed through the portals, Duke waved his hand, and the portals instantly joined together. Steppenwolf, in the ruins, was a little stunned because he was suddenly surrounded by countless identical white light curtains. Before he could react, the 7 portals lit up brightly at the same time, and from 7 directions, 7 violent attacks were fired at him. Supernova, Super Arcane Energy Pulse, Amber Storm, Super Flame Embers, Glacier Spike. Various energy attacks poured onto Steppenwolf. After a few rounds of these powerful attacks, Steppenwolf was blown up before he could even open the sonic boom channel. All that remained in the world was his final wail. End of this chapter.